Fight, 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 fight.
Hypocrisy.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law-Splaining the Interwebs. I'm your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. How are you guys doing? I think I might have cut the intro off. I think I might have cut the end of the intro off. I'm going to play it one more time. Just a second. Here we go.
Fight, 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 fight.
Hypocrisy.
There we go. That's the whole thing. What's up, guys? I forgot. See, my old intro was 10 seconds, but this one is 14 seconds. So much thanks. Much thanks to Mute Mapper who made that for me. I believe he also made the other one for me as well. So this was a new take on it. Oh my gosh, my hair, what is it doing? What is it doing? Seriously. Look at this. What am I? What am I? One of the, like that alfalfa idiot or whatever? Look at that. Just terrible. It's not going down. Anyway, how are you guys today? I hope you're doing well. I'm doing great. I was just taking a nap because naps are cool. Naps are cool. What's happening? Oh, we're going to be watching the bail hearing for Kyle Rittenhouse. This happened a couple days ago. As you may or may not know, people were saying that Kyle Rittenhouse had violated his bail agreements because he did not have, why has YouTube changed the super chat thing again? It's pissing me off because it's cutting off the first super chats. Anyway, they're saying that he violated his bail arrangement because he did not update his address, and so the court didn't know where he was. And there's actually a much deeper backstory to that, which I'm sure they're going to get to in the hearing, but in case they don't fully explain it, let me briefly lay it out here. Kyle Rittenhouse is an accused. That's an important thing to remember here, because accuseds are not guiltieds. If that makes sense. Then we have this thing called the presumption of innocence in this country, and it goes away all the time. It goes away. It went away for Trump. It went away for Kyle Rittenhouse, but the idea is that you can be accused of a crime, but you aren't guilty of that crime until you're convicted. O.J. Simpson is innocent. I know the whole world doesn't think so, but O.J. Simpson legally did not murder Nicole Brown Simpson. Now, he may have stuck a knife into her neck and sawed half of her head off. I don't know. He might have done that. But legally, he did not. All right? And Kyle Rittenhouse definitely shot 3 people. Definitely did. But legally, he hasn't murdered them yet. That would take place at a later date. Well, 2 of them. And then one of them, sort of dismembered the old arm a little bit. And this is a really, really important point, because we cannot, by mob or country sort of desire, decide the guilt or innocence of people. You know that stupid freedom from speech isn't freedom from consequences? That whole stupid thing that people keep saying. Actually, the presumption of innocence is, in a lot of ways, it is freedom from the consequences of your action. And if we say, well, they're not guilty, but we're going to treat them like they are guilty, then we've lost the presumption of innocence. We've lost it. And it's a really dangerous thing. And it's not just dangerous for Kyle Rittenhouse or OJ or Trump or these big figures. It's dangerous for guys like you, guys like me, women like you, women like not me because I'm not a woman. But it's dangerous, and there are all sorts of ways that this danger manifests that they complain about. The ominous they. People who don't believe in the presumption of innocence complain about these same things on smaller scales when it's not some person they're politically or ideologically opposed to. And a simple example is this. If you get charged with domestic violence, and that sits on your record, and then you go to court and you are not guilty of domestic violence, but then you go to a job interview and they say, looking like a wife beater there, buddy. And they don't hire you. Or if they say, ooh, kind of looks like a lot of people on Twitter think you beat your wife. Well, yeah, but I went to court and I don't. So like maybe let's not pay attention to Twitter. Let's pay attention to reality. And they go, I don't know. Looks like you're taking an old sluggy slug at home. That's a problem with not having a presumption of innocence, is now you've got a consequence assigned to someone who went into a forum and beat the consequence. Or who didn't ever go to the forum. We can't hold people guilty for what they're not actually guilty of. And that is really, really important. So Kyle Rittenhouse is an accused, but he is not a guiltyed. And because of that, the narrative from the prosecutors, from the dad of Huber, Josh Huber, whatever, the second guy that he killed, skateboard bro, and Gage Gooskreutz, or whatever that guy's last name is, the guy with half a bicep, they're going to treat Kyle Rittenhouse as if he's already guilty and say that, but he's not. He is, however, accused in a highly, highly charged political public crime. Because of that, he's not safe, right? If Kyle Rittenhouse is in the wrong place and someone from BLM or Antifa sees him and goes, hey, you're that kid who shot these people, and goes and, could put hands on him or could eventually kill him, and he doesn't have a gun right now, can't have a gun right now, that means he's in danger. So his address was not updated. His lawyer had offered to getting back to this, because I went on a long tangent, but his lawyer had offered to update the address, but he told the prosecutor, I want this under seal because he's in a safe house, because he's not safe. And the prosecutor said, no, we want his address public. Well, wouldn't that be convenient for a prosecutor if Kyle just got killed by someone from Antifa or whatever, just quietly capped or stabbed or whatever. That'd be a real easy way out of this case. Because then if he gets capped or stabbed or strangled or beaten, then he's guilty in the minds of everybody forever. Instead of when the judge drops that not guilty verdict down from the jury because of self-defense. See, that narrative's a lot easier to maintain. So far be it from me to suggest that the DA wants Kyle Rittenhouse killed. Oh my God, that is going a bit too far. I'm just saying he might be okay with it. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, they wanted it public. Kyle's lawyer said, not a chance. Kyle's lawyer actually, put their own neck on the line and said, no, sorry, I'm not going to do that. And actually, allegedly, according to the lawyer, the cops in Kenosha said, don't do it. Don't put his real address down. Not a good idea. because it's going to be public. So put some other. Now, I don't know if they did or not, but that's what the lawyer alleges. So unless the lawyer's just lying, which he might be, we saw a bunch of lawyers lie the other day from the House managers at the Trump impeachment trial. Saw plenty of lies there. So it's, maybe the lawyer did lie. I have no idea. Doesn't matter. Ultimate outcome is the same. And many defense attorneys in the same position would do the same thing. So they said this was a violation because you do have to notify the court within a certain amount of days whenever you make a change of address. And they did not do that technically. However, this is back in November, by the way. I didn't mention this. This is back in November when Kyle changed addresses. Only recently did the prosecutor suddenly have a problem with this and saw it as an opportunity to attempt to modify bail. And it didn't work. It didn't work. That's the spoiler alert. The judge does not modify bail, but we're going to listen to the arguments and the statements of everybody. It is about an hour. I'm going to try and pause it minimally. I'll just talk where I can. There should be some dead air because it's a court hearing. And so we'll go through that. Then we're going to talk about Ron DeSantis. Just because he looks like a rising star of the GOP, based Florida man governor who is very much opposed to what Joe Biden is trying to do with COVID stuff. So we're going to start taking a look at some of the stuff he's been doing. And there's maybe some more stuff to talk about, too. I don't know. I don't want to sit and talk about the impeachment too much because I talked about the impeachment all last week, both during the impeachment trial and in the evening live stream, or in the daytime live streams and in the nighttime live streams. So there was something like 35 hours of impeachment coverage last week, which was a lot of fun. And I'm going to look for more opportunities to do those daytime hearing streams. One of the ones I'm looking at doing is coming up in a couple days. It might be next week, something like that. It's either Thursday of this week or Thursday of next week. I don't remember. I'll look it up. The whole stock fiasco where the entire country melted down over GameStop, that is coming up. There's a House hearing, so that should be extra dumb. You think senators are dumb? Wait till you meet the House of Representatives. And so that will probably be happening as well. Oh. I just remembered one of the other stuffs that I want to do before we get too far. Okay. Let's see. Where is it? Just a second. I'm just scrolling through. If you guys are not familiar with Biden posters of Biden voters posting their L's online Twitter page, it's a good one. It's a good one. Here we go. Let me pull this up here. Where are we? I didn't even set up this screen yet, so this is messed up. All right. This is Biden voters posting their L's online, the Twitter account. If you are still on Twitter, you have got to follow this account's just great. It's killing me. It was started with everybody melting down after, they elected Joe Biden. Remember how he tried to buy all the votes in Georgia by promising $20 or $2,000 checks to everybody for stimulus, and he hasn't done it. And people are just getting pissed. Well, here we go. He apparently ran into Renfamous. and here's her tweet. The Babylon Bee exists because too many people fake laughed at white men's jokes instead of just telling them they aren't funny. Oh. Okay. Sure, Ren. Sure, Ren. Here we go. That's got some likes and retweets. And then, yeah, Scott Pilgrim versus the World ruined an entire generation. Of course, Renfamous desperately wishes she looked like Ramona Flowers, but it turns out Renfamous looks like Ramona Fat. So that's the problem for her. Yeah, I did chime in on that one. I actually saw many of you guys in there as well. There's a whole bunch of people who are familiar with Renfamous saying basically the same message as I did. Oh, buddy, you just found a gold mine of idiocy. That fat is premium fat. So, yeah, it's this is a great Twitter account in general, though. The Biden L's. You should give them a follow if you are on Twitter. I'm hearing word that Parler is back. I mean, great. We'll see. We'll see how much I care about Parler. I liked it while it was operative. I don't know that it's going to be as operative as we go, but we'll see. I want to address something. Maxim Perkunkov says Robert Barnes is Rittenhouse's lawyer now. Robert Barnes is on Rittenhouse's legal team. He is not running the defense. He's not running the defense. That is the same guy is still running his defense. It's like Barnes now has something to do with the money that is collected on behalf of Kyle Rittenhouse and helping manage that appropriately and being part of his team generally. But he is not, if people are looking for Robert Barnes to be showing up in these court appearances, I would not suspect that that'll be too common. Oh yeah. One more thing before we get started. One more thing before we get started on the thing here. This is the segment called I Hate Being Right. It's I hate being correct. What? Good. And so I have to share with you my correctness, and let's just do this. Repeat after me. Crypto will not save you from the banks. It's not going to save you from the banks. You see that big, giant logo right in the middle of that picture? MasterCard will support cryptocurrencies, but not the ones you think. It's not going to save you from the banks because the banks will co-opt crypto. So, love it while you got it. Love it now. That's fine. But the banks are going to co-opt crypto. They already... The great thing about crypto is your ability to directly transfer money to people sort of traced, sort of untraced, whatever, without any interference. However, the vast majority of crypto is going to be compromised by the banking monetary system. They will mainstream it, and once they mainstream it, they'll regulate out anything that doesn't comply with the banking part of it. And yeah, it's gonna be great. It's gonna happen. Shiak, keep telling me I don't understand crypto. It's fine. Watch what'll happen. Watch what'll happen. Bad Vibes says, "Wahaha, the universe is groaning. Thanks for immortalizing it." Yes, Yes. Here, the super chat from the beginning, there were 2 that got taken off. YouTube does this new thing where they don't show me the early ones. RZEQDW says, Texas is royally boned. I'm fine, but many people I know have lost heat and power for going on 24 hours now. Roads still impassable. No cell. People's Facebook posts gone from amused this morning to desperate this evening. Prayers, please. And yes, if you are Texas, I hope you have fireplaces. I hope you know people with fireplaces. Be safe on the roads. I mean, there have been real problems. I've driven through Texas in a snowstorm. It is awful. No one's prepared. The roads aren't prepared. Lots of people don't even have winter tires. And as we know, there was a multi-car pileup with several fatalities the other day. Be safe. Bundle up. Blankets. Get in a small area of the house and stay warm as best you can. If you know someone with a fireplace and you can get there, get there. If you're a house with a fireplace and you've got neighbors, invite them over and huddle up. You know, that stuff. In Minnesota, we're used to it. Like, if my power goes out, I've got a gas furnace. I've got gas fireplaces. I've got electric fireplaces. We got all kinds. I got fireplace. I got gas. I got electric. I could burn stuff if I need to. It's, you know, there's all sorts of things I can do. Plus, we can always huddle up in a well-insulated house. Texas houses aren't made to resist cold as much as Minnesota houses, so it can get pretty cold pretty fast. The good news is it's going to warm up. That's the good news for Texas. So you guys will only be without power for so long, and then you get warm. All right. Oh, and then the one more was from me. 68777 says, apparently Russell Greer is bisexual. A male escort went on Kiwi Farms and shared some of his correspondences with Greer, including them setting up a time to meet, and it seems legit. Thoughts? Are you surprised? I'm not surprised by this. I don't have any specific thoughts about it, though. Russell is Russell, man. Russell's going to do what Russell's going to do. He is a special and unique individual. Okay. We're going to do this Kyle Rittenhouse thing. Here we go. Now, the names on the sides are going to be a little cut off. That's just how the video is. So, that's that. Oh, let me fix the audio. Oh, I got a new whiskey today, guys. And I almost destroyed it. Immediately after getting it, I almost destroyed it. I got to my house and, oh, this is great. So I went to the store today. By the way, if you think it's cold in Texas, it's really cold here. I said the main difference is we're actually prepared for it. I went to the store today to buy beer. I don't drink beer, but I had to buy beer because I was making Cajun dirty rice. All right. So I had to go to the store and buy some Modelo. Incidentally, I have some Modelo if anybody wants it. But while I was there, I saw a bottle of whiskey. And this is it here. Kentucky Owl 10-year bourbon. Or no, not 10-year. It's batch number 10. This is the Wise Man's bourbon. This is similar to the rye whiskey that I bought the other day. Similarly pricey. Goodness gracious, this stuff better be good. Should I try it now? I might as well try it now. Anyway, so I bought the Modelo beer, which is fine to buy. And you're supposed to, for the dirty rice recipe I was using, you're supposed to deglaze the pan with beer. And I was like, all right, I'll do that. That'll be good. Add some nice flavors to the rice. And as it turns out, I forgot to deglaze the pan with the beer. The rice was still delicious, but it completely defeated my purpose of going to the store. And now I have 6 little bottles of beer, and I don't drink any of it. So, good job, dummy. Kirby side, this recipe was with, this was actually with just ground beef. And before you yell at me about the authenticity, I got the recipe from Isaac Toops, who's a New Orleans chef. And it was very good. But, so I did ground beef in this one. And I've done, like I cook jambalaya and gumbo and stuff like that with relative frequency. But this is a little bit different. Why the mask on Kyle Rittenhouse? Because if Kyle Rittenhouse didn't wear a mask while sitting with his lawyer, someone would complain about it. His lawyer doesn't have a mask on, which is great. He's also probably not going to be speaking very much. So, isn't that dumb? Nobody there's wearing masks. But if he didn't wear one, he'd get hammered on it. Modelo to marinate pork for carnitas? That's a good idea. Babbling Bobby, I'd make someone a good wife. Well, where I'm from, now my mom is a fantastic cook and was the main cook in our house, but my dad is also a competent cook. And where I'm from, men and women both cook. I actually enjoy cooking quite a bit. So, happy to make Lady Rackets a nice wife or whatever. Okay. I'm going to taste this bourbon. Ooh, I can smell the bourbony element of it. This is 60% alcohol, so this is some strong stuff. That's really good. Oh, it's good. That's got like a vanilla flavor to it. Yeah. It's got that same tingle as the other Kentucky Owl. Oh, this place is going to make me go broke. This is good stuff. Someone said something just a second ago. What was that? Oh, Stealthy Master says, seriously, Nick, you will drink Fireball, but not beer. You should have to drink 1 beer for the show. I did drink a beer on the show, and it's not that I will drink Fireball. I don't like Fireball. I don't ever want to drink Fireball. I did it for 2 streams as punishments. One with Jason Youngbluth, and the idea was that anyone who would send in a super chat for Jason Youngbluth, I would drink Fireball to punish myself. It was to encourage his supporters in that side of the debate to come on and have fun with the show by torturing me, who they didn't like. That was a good plan. It was a bad plan for me because supporters of me and Ethan Van Sciver got wind of it, and they made me drink Fireball instead. So the other time was for a celebration. It was like 25,000 subscribers or something like that. And the entire idea was to just take a sip of Fireball every time I got a super chat. It was horrid. Don't ever do that. It was awful. It was awful. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this thing. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Let me make sure I got the right audio output here, which I do not. There we go. Bad Vibe says, Rackets channels his inner Tony Danza. Who's the boss? Well. Fireball or coffee whiskey? God, probably Fireball. Ugh. Oh, the other thing. Did you guys see Keemstar? Did you see Keemstar? We covered Keemstar's lawsuit against Romeo Lacoste. Romeo Lacoste sued Daniel Keemstar and for defamation. Keemstar ended up winning on an anti-slap, and then he filed a slap-back lawsuit to recover his fees from Romeo, and he was awarded $147,000 in legal fees. We covered all this. None of this is new. Well, what is new? What is new is that Keemstar collected on his judgment. This is the real important part of a judgment, because getting a judgment is just a piece of paper. You have to get that money. You got to get that money. And so Keemstar was awarded $147,000. Now, what many people don't know is that again, is just the start of another legal process. And so that legal process can end in a settlement that is for less if it's necessary, if there's some reason. Like if you win $1 million judgment against a guy who's got 50 grand in the bank, maybe you take the 50 grand and not the million, because he's maybe never going to get $1 million. Maybe he's crippled. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe he's not able to work, is what I'm saying. Shouldn't say crippled. Some crippled people can work. Probably most of them. But maybe he's crippled in his ability to make an income. How's that? That's more PC and correct. So anyway, so maybe you take less. In this case, Keemstar took a little bit less money. Keemstar took $115,000 off of the, out of the $147,000. However, he got something else with it. Keemstar got Romeo Lacoste's gold play button from YouTube. which is hilarious to me. It's very, very funny to me. So he took $115,000 plus Romeo's gold play button in the settlement. So he got that. Now, some people are very concerned because, that means that gold play button cost Keemstar effectively about $30,000. But I want to let you know, Keemstar will be okay. Keemstar does million view videos, literally constantly. He'll make it back in like 3-4 videos. He'll be fine. But that play button is something that you wouldn't be able to get. You'll never get it. You never get it's not a priceless item. It's an item without a price, because you could probably buy some play button on eBay somewhere, like somebody's. But to get Romeo Lacoste's play button, he would have to sell it either to you or to someone else. And he's probably not going to sell it. And if he does sell it, it's not going to be it wouldn't be worth anything normally. So it wouldn't be worth him to sell it. Like if he put that thing up on eBay without this scandal going on, like $10? Who cares about some idiot's play button? But yeah, but because of the whole thing, he takes it back. Now, Keemstar says that he did it to, demonstrate that someone who does what Romeo did doesn't deserve to be recognized as a content creator, which is like this noble and high-minded way of saying he wanted to be a top-tier asshole, which I much prefer the second version. I think it's way funnier than whatever else he could have done. And so hats off to Keemstar for playing it that way. I think it's great. He really did. And Keem did a good thing in this case. I know he gets a lot of shit from people, and I don't care if you like Keemstar or not. That's completely irrelevant to my life. He gets a lot of shit in general, though. But on this thing, he did good. He did the right thing. He investigated the claims. He interviewed the people involved. He interviewed Romeo Lacoste. Romeo came on his show and admitted to it. And then Romeo sued him to take down the videos in which he was admitting for stuff. What else can you say? I mean, Keem gave him all the opportunity in the world, and what Romeo did was converted that opportunity into rope and hung himself with it. And then he tried to sue, and then he lost. He tried to shut down free speech, and the freest of speech. Like, this is one of those rare times where someone is calling someone a horrific name, and they can completely back it up and justify the name calling because the guy comes on the show and admits it. So, yeah. Anyway, the other thing that Keem mentioned, Romeo sent cease and desist letters out to a bunch of publications that had also covered the story, and they took it down, like Inked Magazine, for example. Inked Magazine had a write-up about the Romeo story because he's a big tattoo artist and all this stuff. He sent a cease and desist to Inked, and Inked completely capitulated and backed down and took down their story. So Keemstar was one of the only people who kept that story up. And of course, it cost him $140,000, right? He had to be in a position to do that, to weather that legal expense. So, like I said, in this case, good job to Keem. Okay, here we go. Frank Carrion says, thoughts on Tom McDonald? I know you haven't done reaction videos, but I'd love to see you watch it, one of you watching Fake Woke, or maybe older stuff like People So Stupid, where he comes out as pro-life. I don't know who Tom McDonald is. I'm not opposed. I just have no idea who he is. What's my archive link in the description is broken? Oh, yeah, that's right. It's the old one. Or the old broken version. Okay. Fix the archive link in the description. Yeah, let me pin it in chat. If you don't recall, the archives of these live streams are going up on the Ricada Law Live channel. Okay? So let me type this out. This stream will be uploaded to the archive channel. HTTPS. All right, it's in chat, and I'm pinning it. So if you want to catch a replay of a live stream, make sure you are subscribed over to the archive channel. I do apologize for it taking forever for Friday's live stream to go up. After the show, I just went and basically passed out. So it took a little bit of time, but they're all up there now. They are. Oh, nope. Saturdays is still processing, apparently. Fridays was up. Saturdays is still processing. But anyway, the really long videos that are like 7 hours and longer, they take. YouTube is not friendly with processing those. So working on getting those. But all of these nighttime live streams, they go up pretty easy because they're about 3 hours long. They're generally up by morning time. And then once they're fully up, I take them down off of this channel. So you can go there, get subscribed, make sure you don't miss any replays that you want to see. For now, I'm actually leaving the impeachment series up on this channel as well, but they'll be taken down eventually. So here we go. This is with this very boring thing, and I've spent like 40 minutes not getting to this, but I did some of the more stuff at the beginning instead of at the end. So sue me so I can sue you back.
Except myself and the court personnel. Defendant is appearing with Attorney Mark Richards. And
Kyle's always stone-faced.
Can you other folks identify yourselves, please?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Steve Art. I'm here on behalf of John Huber and Karen Bloom, who are the...
want to point out that the guy in the bottom who's talking right now looks like Ryan from The Office. Creeps me out.
Parents of Anthony Huber. Mr. Huber is here with us today in the yellow and would like to address the court if possible.
All right, and there's also Mr. Gage Grosskreutz. Am I pronouncing it right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, there's Kimberly Motley coming in right now. Okay, and would you identify yourself, please, ma'am?
This is demonstrative of why court proceedings are a disaster by Zoom, by the way. Identify yourself, lady. Identify yourself.
Ms. Motley, would you identify your interest in the case?
I'm sorry, yes, I'm represent.
I can hear you.
Yes. Sorry, Your Honor, good afternoon. I'm representing Gage Grosskreutz as well as the estate of Joseph Rosenbaum.
All right, and it's here on motions as I indicated.
Two
and
felons with guns.
I think the first was brought
one with a
by
gun.
the state. So, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Zaff, I did review all the written materials were submitted. So, if you want to add something to what you've already supplied, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state had filed a motion to increase the defendant's bond by $200,000 and asked the court to issue an arrest warrant for the defendant because he's violated 969.10, which requires him to update his address with the court within 48 hours of any change of address. I want to stress, as the court is aware, I think everybody's aware.
Let me pause something real quick and point out one thing. Looking at the roster, okay? Who do you want representing you? Because me, look at Mark Richards. That guy looks like a mean bastard right now, and that's who I want representing me. Like out of all these people. I pick Mark Richards. Look at him. He's got an angry face carved from granite. ADA Jason Zaff, he's got a normal face carved from a cupcake. I pick Mark Richards. And this Binger guy on the left who's talking now, he kind of looks like Doug TeNapel ate someone else and absorbed them into his face. So I pick Mark Richards.
This is a very unusual situation to have someone facing these types of charges who has been released from custody. Typically, in a case like this, the courts set a substantial cash bond, upwards of $1 million or more. In this case, it's $2 million. That's obviously a large amount of money for anyone to post. In this case, Mr. Rittenhouse was fortunate that his case drew the attention of people around the country who donated money to a foundation that was run by attorney.
Let me interrupt you if I might for a moment. I did actually watch the video of the initial appearance, and you already knew this at that time, and in fact, you brought it to Judge Keating's attention that the defendant, that you did not believe the defendant was living at the Illinois address, and that he was living in a safe house. And so I guess my starting issue is, if this has already been presented and argued before Judge Keating, what triggered the motion now?
That's a good question. You know what judges don't like is when you try and pull a sheet over their head, right? Like, they're like, I'll put my own sheet over my head. Thank you very much. If you're trying to relitigate an issue because you've got a new judge, you better have a real good reason for doing so. And because the presumption is, well, the other judge took care of that. And not to mention, they waited a while for this, months to do this. So this is a great question by the judge. The most terrifying thing for a prosecutor is if it's a judge who's familiar with the record. Stooge Muffin Stuffin says that lady got a submarine head. Oh, come on.
What specifically triggered it is the return that the court received. When the court mailed notice to the defendant on December 22nd, indicating that there was an arraignment on this case on January 5th, that was sent to the Anita Terrace address in Antioch, which was the address on record for the defendant. It was returned to the court, to Your Honor, on January 28th of this year, indicating that there was no one by that name at that address, and they were unable to forward it to Mr. Rittenhouse. That was confirmation that the defendant no longer received mail at that address, was no longer living there. The court is correct that I made a statement at the initial appearance that I did not believe Mr. Rittenhouse was residing at that address, but that was not, I did not know that he was no longer, that there was no one there anymore. I wondered if it was a situation where the family continued to maintain that residence, but they were spending their nights in a hotel or at someone else's house.
Okay, real subtle. Mark Richards up there shaking his head. This attorney's lying to the judge right now. That's Mark Richards they've discussed this. He filed that in his motion. They have already discussed this. He's lying. He's flat out saying something that isn't true to the judge. And that's not really okay. The judge knows this. The judge has read the paperwork.
That's not unusual, but I didn't know they'd moved out entirely. And ultimately, whether I know this or not is not the salient factor. The 968 9.10 requires the defendant to notify the court. This is a court order. The court is the one who issues the bond, not me. And even though I had suspicions the defendant might be spending his nights in a safe house or spending time elsewhere, I didn't know where that was. No one notified me of that. I still don't know where that's at. I have no idea where the defendant is spending his time. The court has no idea where he's spending his time. And that's a very unusual and dangerous situation when you have someone facing these types of charges in this case. As I was saying, this is a very unusual situation to have someone facing these charges who's out there free on bond. And what makes this even more unique is that the defendant has no stake whatsoever in that bond. There's no financial incentive for him to comply with bond. He's posted none of the money that's been the $2 million. In fact, there's some sort of dispute going on right now between Attorney John Pierce, who posted the bond.
I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get into that.
Stop.
Well, I understand, Your Honor, but I think
Real quick, I'm going to try and not pause so much, but we saw this in the Vic case too. Judges don't care about where the money comes from. This is long established. Someone else can pay your bond. Someone else can pay your legal fees. Someone else can pay everything. The court doesn't care. It's not their business. And it can't be used against a client. You can't do that. You can't prejudice a client because they're able to raise money for this situation. That's not how the court works. By the way, this court probably already factored in the public nature and the ability to raise money when they set the initial bond amount. So bringing it back up here, here's what he's trying to do. See, what he's trying to do now is he's actually trying to relitigate the original bond amount. He's phrasing this as a new, oh, well, now he violated it, so now we're going to go after him for more. We were fine with the bond amount, but now that he's violated, now we're going to increase it. This is wrong. They all wanted a higher bond amount for Kyle at the time of trial, or at the initial bond hearing. Since they didn't get that higher bond amount and he was able to cover the entire amount, they're seething and coping, to borrow the internet's expressions, and have been ever since. So now what they want to do is have him post additional money that he and his family don't have. They want to take money away from them. Why? Because then he can't pay his lawyers and then he goes to jail. It strains the legal team. It strains the family. It puts pressure on the defendant. And they can't have that. They hate it. And it's real scumfuck work by the prosecutors. Pardon my English.
I think this is salient because
The bond is up. We've got the cash here, so I don't care about a feud between a lawyer and somebody else.
my only point, Your Honor, is that from the defendant's perspective, what incentive does he have to comply with the bond? What incentive does he have to ensure that the non-monetary conditions are met here? And there's a very
Not going to jail is a pretty good incentive.
small incentive here for him to do that. When facing charges like this, there's a very large incentive for him not to comply, not to come back to court, because there's a great risk here. He could be spending the rest of his life in prison. So when we look at that context, there's very little wiggle room here. The defendant, I think, needs to be kept on a very short leash. We need to make sure that he's compliant with every single part of that bond, which is why I filed this motion. And the defense has admitted it. There is no dispute from the defense that they have not complied with 969.10. There is no dispute. They've acknowledged he hasn't resided at that address. And I want to
Wait. Well, let's. Is that what the statute says? Because when I looked at the statute, which I do periodically, but this one certainly brought it back to my attention again.
Uh-oh. Again, you've got a judge who reads the prosecutor's worst nightmare.
And actually what it says, it's 969.03 subsection 1, which pertaining to people charged with felonies. And it says the judge may, in addition to requiring a cash deposit, impose conditions which will secure appearance for trial. And under subsection B, the statute says place restrictions on the travel associations or place of abode. Now, I do that with some degree of frequency with people, and not, the percentage would be very low, would be in the low single digits. But if I get somebody who's already out on bond, for example, on a fourth DWI, which I'm really quite uncomfortable with, I will put them on a house arrest, and we require their address. You have to be there. They're allowed often to go to work, but otherwise they have to be in their house. That's a restriction on the place of abode, and it's authorized by statute. You didn't ask for that at the first appearance,
Whoops.
and Judge Keating didn't order it.
Uh-oh.
So I don't think it's correct to say that.
Look at his face. Look at Binger's face. Like, oh, shit.
The defendant is required to live at the Antioch address, actually, or any other address.
Well, according to Wisconsin statutes 969.10, Your Honor, a person who has been released on bail or other conditions shall, this is mandatory, shall give written notice to the clerk of court of any change in his address within 48 hours after the change. This shall be printed on all bonds, which it was done here. That was not complied.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm not complied with that.
I agree with you there. But your statement was he wasn't living there and he was required to, and I don't think that's an accurate statement.
And I
Because
think
having an address for the receipt of court notices, which may come in for a variety of reasons, change of date or whatever, having an address, and in fact, when we tell these people, when they give us an address, we say, and some people, for example, are homeless, or they're staying with aunts, 2 nights here and 3 nights there, and rather than locking them up, we say, here's the address, you have to give us an address, and you're responsible for any mail that's sent there. And that's what I interpret the necessity to give an address to mean.
See, this is the difference here between the prosecutor wants. The prosecutor wants Kyle to be in a fixed location. What the statute's purpose is, according to the judge, is to ensure that the court has some place to mail notices. Now, if Kyle doesn't receive those notices, Kyle is at some sort of disadvantage because he can miss some sort of update. Now, his lawyer's going to be getting the same notices, so it's probably not going to happen. But if Kyle gets into a dispute with his legal counsel, or his legal counsel dies or something like that, and then he goes into court and he misses a court hearing, gets arrested and pulled in, they're like, hey, you missed this court hearing. And he says, well, my counsel died or has got COVID and is in the hospital, and he didn't send me the notice because he didn't get it. They'd say, well, we sent you the notice to the address you listed on your bond paperwork and you didn't show up. Tough titties. And then that's his issue to deal with at that time. That is wildly different from being confined to a place and forced to stay there, which is what, of course, the district attorneys want. But the crazy thing is, he's like, if you noticed earlier, Binger's like, I don't know where he is. Well, who cares where he is? You don't need to know where he is. You have the ability to communicate to him through counsel. In fact, you can't communicate with him directly. You can't do it. And so this is a difference between the interpretation that a prosecutor wants and the interpretation that a judge gives. Fannin says, isn't that the same thing Antifa does, having others do their bail so they can go out and protest the next night? Why don't they complain then? Yes. Yes, it is.
It does not equate with placing a restriction on the place of abode, which is specifically a feature in the statute that the court can order, but I couldn't find any record that that was ordered by Judge Keating or that you requested it.
I agree with what you're saying, Your Honor, and I think the distinction you're making between an address and a place of residence is an important distinction in the statutes, and I do understand that there may be a difference between those two things. Ultimately, Your Honor, I think this is a case where it would be important for the court to know exactly where the defendant is living. As I said, this is an extremely serious case, and I think that it's important
this entire
that we don't know
issue just
a P.O.
deflated
box.
right in front of him.
We know exactly where the defendant is because of the risk of intimidation to witnesses, the risk to the community. And ultimately, Your Honor, I want to make it clear to anyone who's watching this that the Anita Terrace address, which was on record for the defendant, is no longer his address. It is not associated with him. There is someone new and innocent who's residing there and should be free from any contact, mail, people bothering them, anything like that. You know, the defense is going to argue and has argued in their written submissions that they need to keep the defendant's whereabouts confidential because of fear for his safety. Now, someone new has moved into the defendant's former apartment, and that person.
This guy is defeating his own argument right now. This is great. Kyle is blessed with a dumb prosecutor. Here he is making his virtue statement, talking about how unsafe it is for the new tenant to live in that house. And he's making the case why Kyle cannot have a public address. What a dummy. Oh my God. You can only hope to have someone act this way entirely throughout your criminal trial, because it's one of the few advantages that you can get is having a prosecutor who doesn't know what he's talking about. Bad Vibe says, did this prosecutor learn law from Ratskin?
Person is in jeopardy. That person is at risk from the things that the defendant is fearful of. And as recently as 20 days ago,
he just admitted the fear. He just gave the judge and the defense all the ammunition they need to go ahead and say, well, then why can't we just seal his address? His address just shouldn't be public. That's all they asked for originally. That's all they're going to ask for now.
on January 22nd, the defendant misrepresented. He lied about his address to this court by signing a bond with the Anita Terrace address on it, knowing full well that was no longer an address that he lived at, no longer an address he gets mail at, no longer an address that he's associated with in any way. And in fact, someone new is there. And if there's anyone out there that wants to try and find Kyle Rittenhouse, that might be the first place they look, and that person is potentially in jeopardy. So that was a very dangerous and irresponsible thing, a callous thing to do. And
it was not.
That's one of the things I wanted to bring to the court's attention so we can fix that and make sure that whoever's in that apartment is safe and isn't going to be bothered to the extent anybody's out there trying to bother Mr. Rittenhouse.
Look at Mark Richards. This guy is killing me. Look, you can There's a difference between being on a Zoom meeting and being in a courtroom. This is one of them, right? Like in a courtroom, he can make that big movement and it's going to be much more pronounced. The judge is definitely going to see it. In a Zoom meeting, you got to kind of do this exaggerated thing because you got to have enough movement in that tiny window that the judge is going to see it. And it's great. It's great. Mark Richards, you can already tell, knows exactly what he's doing here. This guy looking like Wreck-It Ralph up here. What is going on with that face that he's making? Blaine 20 says, prosecutor, the defendant is guilty until proven innocent, and so it is, therefore, okay if he is in danger as a sitting duck at his home. Yeah, that's what they're going with. Bad Vibe says, look at Richard's face. He's waiting for the judge to bounce.
But more importantly, we've got a bond violation here. 969.10 has not been complied with, and there's no dispute about that. The defense has acknowledged that. They've acknowledged that they failed to update the court with his address within 48 hours. He moved a couple of months ago, and they never bothered to update the court. Now, back in November, I had an email correspondence with Attorney Chirafisi, who was representing the defendant, about this very issue and whether or not they could keep his address confidential. And I advised Attorney Chirafisi to file a motion with the court. That is the proper procedure, Your Honor. If they confidential, they should have filed a motion. They should have filed that motion the moment Mr. Rittenhouse left the anti-terrorist residence.
And they would have opposed that motion. They would have opposed that motion. It would have dragged it out for another week, and they would have still complained that he didn't update his address. Because they want him to post his address, then file the motion, because that's the bond requirement. Remember, 48 hours. No way that gets dealt with in 48 hours.
They should have filed it with this court and asked the court's permission. But instead, what they've done is gone ahead and done it unilaterally without any court authorization, without any notice to anyone here. They've acted independently. And frankly, this is the latest in a long line of incidents where I think the defendant is essentially thumbing his nose at the court's requirements here. And it's very alarming.
This is the only thing Kyle has come even remotely close to breaking. Remember, these prosecutors modified Kyle's bonds to make it so he doesn't use racist hand signals like this. That's how lunatic, batshit insane the prosecutors in this case are. We can't forget that. That's the perspective. He's done a lot of things to thumb his nose at the court in this case. He legally went to a restaurant with his mother, legally had a beer according to the rules of Wisconsin, the laws in Wisconsin, and he talked to people at that bar that someone decided were racist. Someone else decided the people he was talking to were racist members of the Proud Boy or whatever. So because of that, they modified his bond agreement. And they went along with that bond modification, even though admitting no wrongdoing, because nothing was wrongly done. But the prosecutors are pissed that he was wearing a shirt that said free as fuck on it. And again, pardon my English, that's what his shirt said. And not my recommendation. None of this stuff I would recommend to my client. However, he didn't do anything wrong. Nothing illegal, nothing against his existing bond requirements. And still they tried to modify his bond. Well, we don't like that behavior from him. And then now they're trying to do it again.
When someone is facing these serious charges, to go to a bar and drink, to wear a t-shirt with a profane message on it, to flash white supremacist signs, to move away from this address, put someone else at risk.
If I were his lawyer, I would object to that. White supremacist signs, by the way. But I think Mark's just letting him go. But he hopefully he'll address it. I wouldn't let that shit fly for my client at all. Objection, Your Honor. White supremacist signs. This guy's a white supremacist. There. That has the same effect as what he's saying. This is nonsense. Can we get to the issue of the bond hearing?
Risk, and then refuse to disclose your whereabouts on a case like this? These are very troubling things. Now, I'm aware of the fact that under 969.035, the state could ask the court to revoke the defendant's bond. In fact, there was a protest last weekend. People in the community asking us to do that.
No, I don't want.
Oh no! The judge just flashed. The judge just did it. The judge just white power signed. He's clearly aligned in power with Kyle Rittenhouse. Oh, no.
No, I don't want to hear about protests. I don't want to deal with what media reports that are inaccurate. There were some very careless reports in the paper the other day after I issued the restriction on associations. The media nationwide, I guess, portrayed it that I had prohibited the defendant from associating with white supremacist groups. There's nothing in the order about that.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Nothing in the order about that.
It would certainly be encompassed within what I ordered, but it was not limited. There was a report the other day locally that said that I think you had issued a warrant for the defendant's arrest. And, I think that's what it said or something. The DA's office issued a warrant for his arrest. And this kid, look, I want to have a fair trial in this case.
He's doing it again. Oh, no.
And I want everybody, I mentioned this in my earlier order, I want everybody to act in a way that maximizes the possibility of fairness in this case. Fairness to everybody who's involved. And I don't want to, this case is not going to be decided by demonstrators of one type or another. And frankly, it's not going to affect anything I do, and I don't think it's going to. I don't want to whip stuff up, so it affects a fair trial in this case to decide it strictly on the evidence. So I don't want to hear about a demonstration last weekend, okay? Because if we do that, then tomorrow.
Yeah, you can't come in. Judge, there was a public demonstration. That means now we have to punish the private individual. No, that's literally the opposite of the criminal process in the United States, and specifically for the reason you cannot let the mob determine guilt. You can't do it. By the way, this Gage guy, he looks almost exactly like one of my really good friends growing up, and it creeps me out. It creeps me out because I know my buddy was not an idiot like this guy.
We'll have a demonstration by people who view things differently, okay?
And that's why I had filed a motion for a gag order in this case, which is still pending on all the parties, because this should not be something that's tried in the media.
Demonstration? How do you gag a street demonstration?
The gag order was filed when Attorney John Pierce interviewed on national news about the case, Your Honor. That's why.
Mark Richards is livid. Oh, he's pissed.
But
my point is, the less anything other than just strictly discussing what the facts and the evidence are occurs, the more likely we are to have a trial that's fair to the defendant, which is his constitutional guarantee, and to the public, which is my responsibility. So, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
I was just making the point, Your Honor, that under 969.035, the court does have the ability to revoke bond in a case like this. However, there is a burden on the state proved by clear and convincing evidence that it's necessary to protect the public or prevent the intimidation of witnesses. And at this point, I don't believe that I could meet that burden, which is why I didn't ask the court to revoke the bond here. However, I do think that there is a basis with the course of conduct that we've seen here for the court to impose a consequence for the defendant's violation of the bond, which has been admitted by the defense, to increase his bond by $200,000. And until he does so, I think a warrant should be issued for his arrest. Now, I don't know how long it's going to take him to post that money, but I think that that's something that needs to happen here, because otherwise there's no consequence on it.
Actually, there's a statute about warrants. There's a statute about warrants in these cases also. 969.08 subsection 5A. A court may issue a warrant for the defendant who...
Notice what happened there. Sorry, we'll get back. He says the court may issue a warrant for, but Binger, the prosecutor, who should know about this, nods as if he knows the statute is there, turns to his notes and looks down because he didn't look up this statute.
Who has already been admitted to bond, only if the district attorney complies with 969.08 subsection 5A, and that requires, number one, that the defendant was released on conditions, which is the case here. Number two, alleges the defendant violated a condition of release by committing a serious crime, which I haven't seen any allegation of that. And number three, that the district attorney provides a copy of the complaint charging the commission of the crime. So you're short on two conditions in terms of my issuing a warrant. Now, tell me if I'm reading that statute wrong.
No, you're not, Your Honor. I'm not alleging the defendant has committed a serious crime. I'm simply alleging he's violated the conditions of his bond by failing to update his address with the court.
Well, but it says, let's get the exact wording.
A Bad Vibe says, hold on, after this is over, can Kyle consider a 1983 claim, I think is what you're looking for. Not yet. A drink each time Binger undermines his case. Oh, man. This bottle of whiskey was really expensive. I can't do that. Mark Richards is just like,
yeah,
please,
it says,
let me at him.
If the court, this is subsection B, subsection 1. 96908, subsection B, subsection 1. If the court determines that the state has complied with paragraph A, the court may issue a warrant. That's the limitation on the court's authority to issue a warrant, is if the district attorney has complied with paragraph A. And paragraph A is what I just read, and you're missing two of the three ingredients that would be required to empower me to issue a warrant. Unless I'm reading that wrong, and I don't think I am.
And it's May. It's still permissive.
I understand, Your Honor. I am asking the court to increase the bond, however.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Is that it,
Oh,
Mr.
That's
Richards?
all I have, Your Honor. I believe Ms. Motley and maybe Attorney Art, also on behalf of the victims, would like to give a brief statement as well. And I would ask the court.
You know that I don't permit the use of the term victim before adjudication in this or any other case, and I haven't for years. So please don't use that term. And I know that.
I love this judge already. Look at this guy. Don't call them victims. Don't use that language. He is, and this is the proper way for a judge to act. He is hyper focused on the gravity of this case. This isn't actually like this. This is good for Kyle now. I want to point this out there, but this isn't automatically like good for Kyle. It doesn't mean, oh, base judge is going to let Kyle off the hook. This is a judge who wants to give the fairest trial possible. He doesn't want any appearance of unfairness because if Kyle is found guilty, he doesn't want any excuse of prejudice coming from his courtroom. So it's not, I mean, it's what the system wants. It's good for Kyle in that way. It's what the system demands from our justice system. It's what all of the rules around all of this are generated and engineered to create. And so it's good that he's honoring those. I don't want people to get like a false sense of hope that this means Kyle's automatically getting off. That's not it at all. This is a judge concerned about giving a guilty verdict, not a not guilty verdict. Look, if you get an unfair trial and you get a not guilty verdict, you win. You can't be brought back in. That's entirely in your favor. A fair trial only matters in a guilty verdict. And so this judge is hyper focused on delivering the fairest trial possible because the possibility of a guilty verdict being overturned by an allegation of unfairness. So, but this is what you want, though. I want to point that out. Like, aside from a judge who just dismisses your case, if you're going to have to go through trial, you want a judge who acts like this. And I'm glad that Kyle has one.
This is an awkward situation, but I do not permit the terms victim or alleged victim unless and until there's been an adjudication. So these are folks who are speaking on behalf of the families of the deceased.
Your Honor,
Yes.
John Huber is the father of Anthony Huber, who was killed by Mr. Rittenhouse, and he's here in yellow, and he would like to address the court if Your Honor will hear from him.
Go ahead. Would you identify yourself again, sir?
Hello, my name is John Huber, and I am Anthony
Yeah.
Huber's father.
Okay, and would you do me the favor if it's okay if there's nobody else there? It's going to be a lot easier for the court reporter if you remove the mask.
I'll
I don't want to
remove
jeopardize
mine
anybody.
if he removes his.
Oh my God. Oh, come on. I'll remove mine if he removes his. What, does he think he has swastikas tattooed on his lips or something?
Yeah, I'm not going to, sir. Sir, I'm talking about the reporter. If I ask Mr.
All right, here I
Rittenhouse
am.
to speak, yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes, sir. Thank you. This is Mr. Huber. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Well,
Now, real quick, I do want to do one thing. I have some sympathy and condolences for John Huber's dad, right? Like, this guy did lose his son. What his son did was wrong. And I think Kyle shooting him was entirely justified. Okay? Like, from everything I've seen. However, this guy did lose his son. Like, he can deal with those emotions, and that's a hard thing to do. And you're always going to look at your kid in the best light. So you can forgive this guy a little bit for being the way he is. He's angry, he's sad. Look, that's what a dad does. That's what a dad does. It's not like, I don't want to, this guy maybe, I don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy. I don't know anything about it. But the way he's acting isn't actually inconsistent with how a dad behaves. Now, everything else he does in his life may be terrible, may be good. I don't know. But I'm not going to beat on him here for that.
from the beginning, from the moment he became a killer, he thought he was above the law. And he has no remorse for what he's done. And he is enjoying this media circus and the support from these hate groups and militia members that have posted his bond. Okay? It's not like his mom and dad put up the family house to get him out.
It also doesn't make what he's saying right. I'm just talking about the emotional response that he has.
He has nothing to lose if he runs. He has nothing to lose. Matter of fact, he's probably going to spend the rest of his life in prison if there's justice in that town of Kenosha. He should be remanded to custody. I don't know about what the DA was supposed to file, but this kid, we don't know where he is. You don't know where he lives. Nobody in that court knows where he lives. And if it's supposed to be a secret, if he's got all this back end, what is he afraid of? Got all these people supporting him. You know, why does he need to be in a safe house? His bond should be $4 million, like I said in the beginning. It should have been something that he can't just raise on his own. You know, and the people that did raise his money, I guess they're not around anymore. But we lost a son. His mom and I lost our son. And how would you feel if the killer of your son is just able to walk free and make videos in bars and live it up?
Now, he has two attorneys there representing him. These attorneys should not be letting him do this. This is bad lawyering on their part. What they should have done is collected a prepared statement from him and submitted it to the court. That's what they should have done. Having him do this especially following this judge's talk about how he doesn't want to hear any of this crap about outside stuff. He doesn't want to deal with, he doesn't even want people who are dead in the case to be called victims. Like, this judge is straight-laced on this stuff and seems to be pretty strict. So, while having this grieving father talk, is a courtesy to the father, he doesn't have to have him talk at all. These lawyers should have prepared this guy to give a different statement if he was going to do it live, or they should have submitted that statement as part of their filing papers. There's no reason for this. There's no reason for this at all. It doesn't help their case. It actually probably hurts it.
Whatever the statutes are, they must be wrong, because this guy can just go and do whatever he wants after he killed our son. Our son didn't get to spend Thanksgiving with us, but Rittenhouse did. He got to spend all kinds of time at the bar, live it up, making videos with his white supremacist friends, singing videos with a shirt that says free as F. You're not going to be free as F. Justice is going to be served to you.
Look at the judge's face. Look at the judge's face. He's like, this is exactly the opposite of what I just said. And I have a statement about this. It's actually my pinned tweet on Twitter. That, for anyone who's confused, my response to this guy's rant is, if your son didn't try to kill Kyle Rittenhouse, he'd still be alive. I mean, that's at the end of the day, the problem is your son brought a skateboard and hit Kyle Rittenhouse and reached for his gun. Everybody on the video saw it. While Kyle was retreating, Kyle was running away, gun down, not at threatening positions in any way, and your son was assaulting him. If I was Kyle, I would have shot your kid too. And anybody else who was Kyle should have shot your kid too. Sad your kid died. He shouldn't have been there, and he shouldn't have been doing what he was doing, and he certainly shouldn't have attacked someone running away from a situation carrying an AR. That's just bad planning in general. So, Zero Cypher says, drink each time the judge wrecks the prosecution. Okay, well, we'll see. All right, back to this.
That's all I have.
Thanks, Mr. Huber. Who wants to talk next?
Your Honor,
Yes, Ms. Motley?
thank you. Your Honor, if my client,
Sorry, Motley.
yes, Your Honor, if my client, Mr. Grosskreutz, would like to say a few words, and
Grosskreutz? That's how you pronounce that name?
then I would like to speak after him, if it's okay with the court.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Gage Grosskreutz. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir. I think the reporter's having a little bit of difficulty, but just hold on.
Lawyers in a trial that involves Zoom for a homicide buy a microphone for everyone who will ever speak. Ever. If you're like, look at this. First of all, her little AirPod garbage, knock it off. Get real equipment. You're a lawyer. You're getting paid. Then buy your client the equipment. Use their fee money to do it and bill them for it. It doesn't matter. Buy them $30 headphones. Buy them a $100 microphone and plug it in to a laptop that they've already got. Buy a microphone. Everybody should. I can't. I keep seeing these lawyers and they're like this Binger guy, he's standing around probably yelling into a webcam mic on his laptop. Like, get a mic. Don't you want to sound silky smooth like I do? This is how I sound on Zoom meetings for court, by the way. I sound like this. Hello, Judge. How are you today? I'm Nick Ricada of Ricada Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota, and my client is not guilty. That's how you want to sound. You don't want to sound like these idiots, like they're in a fucking hallway. Oh my God, what are they doing?
One second, we're just having a technical issue here. Okay, now go ahead, sir. Thanks.
Thank you, Your Honor. Again, my name is Gage Grosskreutz. I'd like to keep this brief. First off, I'd like to echo the concerns.
You do echo. You don't have a mic.
And grievances that the DA has provided, as well as the clearly emotional issues that Mr. Huber has just stated. Again, I would like to restate that it is, in my opinion, that Mr. Rittenhouse has shown a pattern of lack of remorse during this bond time before trial, and I would also recommend that the bail be raised to $4 million. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Motley?
That was useless. Thank
Your
you.
Honor, thank you. And I would like to have my remarks on behalf of all the victims that are present. I have been given permission of that.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, survivors. I'm sorry. You're right.
This is a long-standing rule.
I appreciate
It doesn't apply just to this case. I never permit this.
She just called them survivors. All the survivors. They're surviving really well as worm food. They're buried in boxes already, lady. They didn't survive.
And it's been for years. Usually we talk about the complaining witness. I understand this is a little difficult, but the decedent or whatever, but I can't permit the use of the word victim or alleged victim because they're so loaded with things that can't be assumed prior to trial. So go ahead.
The reason her picking survivors is funny is you can already tell, right? What is she? She's a social justice lawyer. So survivors of discrimination, abuse, blah 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 blah. That's the language that's baked into her Twitter-addled brain. Is the language of the survivor.
Thank you, Your Honor. My apologies for that. So I am speaking on behalf of the survivors, if that's a more acceptable term. Mr. Huber has also given me permission to
Look at Richards. His eyebrows. I guess survivors. I don't know. My boy here. Put him down.
speak on his behalf, as well as obviously my clients, Mr. Gage Grosskreutz and the estate of Joseph Rosenbaum. We want to support the state.
She literally is talking about the survivors as well as Gage, who's the only survivor.
State's motion, and we strongly believe that Mr. Rittenhouse's bail should also be substantially increased. We believe collectively as survivors that that increase should be at a minimum $4 million. We are very disturbed by his behavior in terms of what we believe is violations of his bail conditions. He should be giving his address. That is a basic requirement that I have seen as a criminal defense attorney and as an attorney for over 17 years of criminal defendants all around the world. And so why he feels that he doesn't have to give that address is beyond me when he signed his bail conditions on November 20th, when that was set. We'd also ask the court to add additional conditions to his bail, to his bond, his bail requirements. We believe that electronic monitoring is appropriate.
House arrest, okay. Even though he doesn't have house arrest, they're trying to get house arrest for what? What are these modifications based on?
We believe that, I don't know if Mr. Rittenhouse has a passport, but if he does, that should be surrendered, or he should not have the ability to get a passport. We believe that his movement should be confined from home to his attorney's office, or court. We're extremely disturbed, like everyone else, with the fact that Mr. Rittenhouse, as Mr. Huber has said, appears to be, living it up. I believe was what he said.
Oh yeah, living it up under indictment for homicide because he went to one bar, one time. That was reported on. Living it up. Can you guys imagine if that defined living it up for your life was defined by, well, you went to a bar once. You lived it up. Jesus. Matt Field says, I was literally tech support for the DA as a juror in a murder trial with permission of all the parties, obviously. It was excruciating to sit there and watch the idiot circus try to fire up VLC to play multiple 7-hour videos. Oh, my God. Yes, VLC is very hard to operate, too. Blaine 20 says, no bail without reasonable cause equals involuntary servitude without due process. Yes.
Going to bars, throwing up white domestic terrorist, white supremacist signs while wearing inappropriate attire, in my opinion.
Seriously, I know Mark Richards is a more experienced criminal defense attorney than me, and he's on a Zoom meeting, so he probably doesn't want to do. I would object to all this. Just stop it. Just stop, lady. Hey, listen, lady. You shut your mouth.
Chugging down 3 beers
and smile
within a 90-minute time period.
Oh,
is not
no.
something that we believe that he should be doing.
A beer every 30 minutes.
Over 200 years in prison. So we'd ask the court to take everything that we're all collectively saying in consideration, that being out on bail essentially is a privilege. And Mr. Rittenhouse has shown time and time again that he does not care about his bail conditions. Thank you.
I hope Mark hammers him into the ground.
Thank you, Mr. Richards.
Thank you, Your Honor. When one looks at the bail, first off, the exchange between the court and Mr. Binger, if this court today were to say to my client, I want you to post an additional $200, he would voluntarily return himself to jail. He is not running. He is not hid. Mr. Binger knew from the beginning he was not living at the address in Antioch. Mr. Sharafazi contacted him after to try to make arrangements to provide an address under seal. I find it ironic that Ms. Motley finds that so upsetting when her client, Mr. Grosswitz, has a sealed address in his Milwaukee County Court Circuit Court case.
Your Honor.
Notice Gage, to credit to Gage, by the way, he's like, you right. Yeah, you got me. At least Gage is like, yeah, I do. John Stern says, it's a shame when the law gets in the way of the prosecution. It really is. It really is.
Your Honor, my client is not on trial.
Look, I don't want to get into a Milwaukee case involving anybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Move on to something else, Mr. Richards.
My client, when Mr. Binger talks about the Antioch address, Mr. Binger has said he wants proof of threats, clear, present, and tangible. Yet he's talking about this person in Antioch being somehow at risk. That makes no sense. It's intellectually dishonest.
Yep.
The notice went out to the Antioch address. It was returned. I note to the court, most importantly, that on January 5th for the arraignment, which was the notice, my client was in court through Zoom. He was in my office in a timely manner. He's made all of his court appearances. He knows that the government is seeking to up his bond today. He's here. He's appearing via Zoom. That's how the court has required it. The fact that Mr. Binger uses the word unusual 15 to 20 times does not go into the bond statute. My client is filed under seal, and I'll fall on the sword. I should have been more diligent about getting that taken care of, but I didn't. Mr. Sharafazi reached out. It was unsuccessful. There were other attorneys involved. I should have made sure it was done. But as soon as I was served with these documents, we did provide a P.O. box, which is very close to his residence. He looks in that P.O. box, or his family does, daily. To believe that my client isn't at risk, we've provided the threats. All it takes is one crackpot, and there's a problem. My client has appeared for every court appearance. He has done what he's supposed to do. The bond has been updated, and If he moves again, we would update that. There's no notice to me under the statute regarding EML, ELM, or a passport. My client does not possess a passport. There's a substantial bond posted by people who support Kyle Rittenhouse. That is true. It's going on in another Kenosha County court case also. My client will appear. He looks forward to litigating these offenses in Your Honor's courtroom. We have nothing to fear. The truth will set my client free. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna offer some mild criticisms here. First, Synac 8 says, seriously, what's with the plus 100 years time in prison sentence? Humans don't live that long. It sounds stupid. It makes me not want to not take their charges seriously. It's just he shot 3 people, and the aggregate of those prison sentences plus the other crimes that he's charged with just comes out that way. So each crime gets its own sentence. Now imagine in a different scenario, you're charged with 5 crimes and each one gets 25 years or whatever. Okay, so they give you a life sentence because it wouldn't make sense to sentence you for 125 years. But then several years later, like maybe 3 or 4 years into it, it comes out that you're not guilty of most of the crimes and your sentence, 100 of those years would go away. Well, you can't really do that with a life sentence. You can't undo the sentencing of the life sentence. But what you can do is remove each individual count where you were actually exonerated years later by DNA evidence or whatever. It's just a more effective way of dealing with it. And sometimes those sentences, even though they, 200 years or whatever, sometimes they run concurrently, sometimes they run consecutively. And all this just goes into the ability to change or modify things later on. Like what if they passed a statute or a Supreme Court case came down that said that one of the things you did wasn't actually illegal at the time you were guilty of it because it was unconstitutional. Well, then those years are going to get chopped off. So that's why they don't do that. It's just the aggregation of all of the crimes' maximum possible penalties is what they're talking about. And for Kyle right now, it's over 200 years. My criticisms of Mark Richards, though, are in, he's calling out the DA. I would have hammered home a little bit more. You know what? They keep talking about white supremacist signals. My client didn't do any white supremacist signals. This is nonsense. This is the type of prejudice they're trying to instill in this court. And I commend Your Honor for recognizing loaded language and prejudice where it is. But I have to go on record right now and just say that my client wasn't engaged in any white supremacy or sending any white supremacist signals. This is the type of nonsense they're using for their media appearances and press releases, and it really needs to stop. Let's focus on facts, but they don't want to focus on facts because the moment they do, my client walks free. I think a statement like that would have been really good to come out of Mark Richards here. I don't think he should have said that the P.O. box was close to where Kyle lives and that his parents or whatever check it every day. I don't think that was the right thing to say. I think he should have said, my client is in receipt of notices. He's made all of his appearances, which he did say that, and he will continue to be so. We've updated the court with a P.O. box, and we make sure that Kyle Rittenhouse is able to receive any notices that come to that P.O. box. That's all you need to know. If you need an address, Your Honor, we're happy to file it under seal, although we would be very hesitant to see, we would like that seal to be attorney's eyes only. And that's how you leave it. Because the victims don't need to know the victim's parents don't need to know where Kyle Rittenhouse's dad is, or where Kyle Rittenhouse lives, or anything like that. This John Huber guy, he doesn't need to know. Gage, Grosskreutz, he doesn't need to know where Kyle is. This is a felon with a gun. You don't need that. So those are the types of things I would have said. Yes, victims. I would have said victims too. And he'd take their skulls again.
If I could respond very briefly, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
First of all,
This is Mr. Bingham.
Counsel wants to put me at the center of this as if my knowledge is what matters, but I don't run the court. I'm not the judge. And the statute doesn't require him to notify me. It requires him to notify the court. This is a court order. This is a statute that isn't complied with. And what I just heard from Attorney Richards is no defense, no argument that they complied with it. It's an acknowledgement that they didn't. They've just completely blown off this requirement. I had my suspicions he wasn't actually.
Wasn't an acknowledgement that they blew off the requirement at all. It was an acknowledgement that they tried to get you to comply with it and that you wouldn't allow it. Or you to comply with the sealing request. And that's the other thing. I would have said, Your Honor, why wouldn't they simply offer their compliance, their acceptance of a sealed address? This isn't a hard question here, Your Honor. This should have been sealed. There's no reason my client's address should be public. He is at danger. This Binger guy acknowledged it. He acknowledged the danger. Why in the hell would we not file under seal? And why would he oppose it if he's acknowledging the danger? These are good questions. I'm glad I'm asking them.
Living there anymore, but as I explained earlier, I didn't know that meant they'd completely flown the coop, and I certainly didn't know someone new had moved in there until I sent detectives down there to double check it after the court got its notice on January 28th. So that's the biggest point here, Your Honor. What the defense has filed is a address under seal, which is a P.O. box. It's not in Wisconsin or Illinois. So now we're even.
I did look at that, and it actually looked like an address to me. You're saying that's just a P.O. box?
On Google Maps, Your Honor, it's a P.O. box. Counsel's just acknowledged it's a P.O. box. I had my suspicions when I saw the format of the address. It didn't look like it would be a normal address. It's a P.O. box, Your Honor. So again, we don't know where an accused murderer's at. That's the bottom line here, Your Honor. The court doesn't know, and the defense is refusing to tell us where someone is accused of murder is located. And I think that's a problem. I'm not okay with that. The statutes don't contemplate.
I am not okay with that. The statutes don't contemplate that. And I'm going to have to ask for your manager, Judge, if you don't think that you're not okay with that too.
That. And there's no dispute here. The defendant hasn't complied with this.
Wait a minute. Where are you?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, I wasn't understanding what you were saying. Go ahead. I got it now.
I'm simply asking that this defendant be treated the same as everyone else, whether it's an OAR or a disorderly conduct or a drunk driving or a sex assault or a murder. Every defendant is required to provide this information.
You definitely don't want him treated like everyone else. Believe me, you don't want Kyle treated as if he walked into a traffic court, because he'd be walking out of there without even paying a fine at this point.
Defense is acknowledged. They didn't do so. So now it's up to the court. What consequence is there going to be for this? Are we just going to turn a blind eye at this and let this go by? Or in this very, very serious case, are we going to hold the defendant to the same rules as everybody else and impose a consequence for us? And I believe that it's appropriate that the court impose the consequence that I've asked for, which is to increase the bond by $200,000. Now, I note, as the court mentioned in 969.08, I think what the court was talking about there is the ability to arrest and hold the defendant without bond pending trial. And that's not what I'm asking for here. I'm simply asking that he be required to post the $200,000. And I think the court has to issue a warrant for his arrest to make him do that, because otherwise there's nothing compelling him to post that money. Oftentimes the courts will say you need to post it by a certain period of time, whether it's 5 o'clock next Tuesday or something along those lines. But if he doesn't, then obviously there'd be a violation of the bond. There'd be an arrest warrant. There could be new charges on that. And I acknowledge we do have the ability to file bail jumping charges on the defendant for violating this bond. But in the big scheme of things, that goes back to the same point I was making earlier, which is there's not much of an incentive here. A Class H felony for felony bail jumping pales in comparison to first-degree intentional homicide charges, which is what the defendant's facing right now. So it's a very little incentive for him to continue to comply. Without the monetary incentive, without any legal recourse, the defendant can continue to flaunt these bond conditions and continue to act like none of this matters, and he doesn't have to comply like everybody else.
Yet he's complied with all of his bond conditions except for the address thing.
behavior is disturbing here, Your Honor. This is a very serious case, and I'm not sure the defendant is taking it nearly as seriously as he should. He should be held to the same rules, the same standards as everybody else. And when he violates a court order like he's done here, and he admits he's done, there should be a consequence. Thank you.
Your Honor, may I add something to that?
Oh, this will be brilliant.
Well, go ahead.
Do I want to hear from this crazy social justice lady? Oh, God, her forehead is shiny. I guess. Go ahead.
Thanks, Your Honor. And joining in what the state said, 30 days ago, the court, not this court, but there's another Kenosha County case involving also a double homicide where a male of color was given a $2.5 million bond.
Oh, here it is. Here it is. A male of color was given a $2.5 million bond in a different case. Therefore, white man bad. White man bad.
2.5 million. And we ask that the court also take that in consideration, since Mr. Richards found it necessary to bring up something that was not relevant to this proceeding. We think that this is relevant for the court to consider when setting the bond conditions and increasing the bail if the court so orders. Thank you.
Well, I will tell you that I am not going to decide anything in this case or any other on the basis of the color of anybody's skin, period.
Look at her face. Look at her smug-ass face. She doesn't believe him at all. Look at that. Right there. Oh my gosh. I'm actually going to rewind that. Watch her face when he says that. I would zoom in on it if I could, but I can't. Watch her face.
Of the color of anybody's skin, period. There was a decision made, in, I think it was 1896, Plessy versus Ferguson, where a decision was made on the basis of the color of someone's skin. A man who was, by the way, was 1/8 African American.
It was way less than 1/8, but okay.
Descent. And it was a test case. And the Supreme Court of the United States, which has a spotted history on these issues, I'll digress enough to talk about Roger Brooke Tawney saying that a black man could never be a citizen of the United States in 1854, which brought on the Civil War, and Plessy versus Ferguson, where Justice John Marshall Harlan.
He's white-splaining to her. I'm dying right now. He's white male-splaining to her. And she's so mad. She is on fire inside right now. Like her shirt is about to combust from the increase in body temperature as this old white male, probably cis white male, he's probably hetero with an old wife who's white also, is white-splaining, mansplaining, law-splaining to this young African American, maybe Asian, I don't know what she is, young woman of color. He is lighting her up and with the old race cases, and she's just like, I read all of them twice today, you bigot. Oh my God, look at her be pissed.
Issued a stirring dissent critical of the 8-1 vote of the court to permit segregation in by state law in transportation, and said what an outrage it was and what harm it would cause to the country. And we suffered for a long time because of that, because decisions were permitted to be made on the basis of that. I don't know anything about that other case. I don't know who the judge was. I didn't set this bond, and I didn't set that bond. And so I'm not going to comment at all about that, other than to say this case came to me. It had an initial bond of $2 million set by Judge Wagner, who may be the same judge who set the bond you're talking about. I don't know. It was reset by Judge Keating at first appearance And, what's been reported to me now, he was not put under condition of living at a specific address. That could have been done. The district attorney apparently was aware of what he now refers to as flying the coop, was aware of that situation back then, and he didn't ask for a conditions on place of abode, and Judge Keating didn't order it. So there's no change in circumstance there. I do not believe it's proper to issue a warrant. I don't think that would be lawful. No matter what feelings anybody has, I took an oath to uphold the Constitution and follow the laws, and that's what I'm going to do. And it's sad that this is getting at the level it is, but I can't help that. I will tell you that the violation of not, well, most of the people who are out on bond, we don't know where they are. There are people who are out on bond.
Oh no, another white okay symbol. Here goes. Here we
who
go.
are out on bond. We don't know where they are. There are people.
Oh no! The judge is dog whistling right to her face. He's like, here, listen to my dog whistle. The abject lunacy of these people is beyond me. I can't take it. It's white power. It's white power. It's okay, or I'm making a point. You need to listen here. That's what it is. It has nothing to do with white power. These people are crazy. Look at her face. Look at her. She's suspicious of that hand. She knows that hand. That is the hand of hate.
People who are out on bond, who are they're business people. I've had.
He's looking right at her, and she's like, no.
Cases where people they do international business, and they fly all over the world while they're out on bond, and there's nothing prohibiting them in that bond. This is a border county. A significant portion of the people we have out on bond are living in Chicago or one of the other collar counties, and are in and out of Illinois every day. So we don't have these restrictions on travel except when the judge, following the statute, puts an abode condition on. That was not done in this case. So he didn't violate anything like that. I don't have the authority to issue the warrant the district attorney is talking about, and I don't agree with his analysis of what the circumstances, or I should say the procedure for getting the bond changed. I get people in here and I do change their bonds, and then I tell them to post it by a certain time, or they have to report to the jail. If they don't report, that's when the warrant gets issued. But to issue a warrant now for a defendant who's appeared at every hearing, that would be I'd be breaking the law, and I'm not going to do it. I disagree with your statement that bail is a privilege. Bail is a right.
Buried her. The presumption of innocence is a right. It is a human right. These people are so freaking bloodthirsty that they forget that it's your human right to not be guilty because someone accused you. But she is, look at her. It's the language of, look at her face. She's so pissed. She's like the bane of social justice, like you merely adopted social justice languages, you old white judge. I was born in it. I knew what cisgender was in the womb. And I come out with a fiery vengeance against all cis white heteropatriarchy. She can't countenance the idea. You can't break it from these people. They were literally born in it. What's this chick, like 28? She's born into this idea that The world is unjust, and the only way to justify it is by jailing the white. So the idea that innocence until proven guilty, it's anathema to them. It is anathema. It's not in them, and you can't instill it in them. It would take a sledgehammer and a chisel the size of Rhode Island to smash into the thickness of their skull.
In the Constitution. He's posted the bail that was set. Now, he's in violation of a condition about updating his address.
I'm sorry,
And
is this all to me?
Do you hear it? So, is this all to me? Because I wasn't. Look at her. She's offended. We're going to go back 10 seconds here. Because she stopped listening to this judge. She stopped listening to him a long time ago.
Violation of a condition about updating his address.
I'm sorry, is this all to me?
I'm talking just generally.
Okay, got it.
I'm talking to everybody.
She was about to light this judge up for white-splaining to her. If I were Gage, I would fire that lady immediately. Fire her immediately. This is not the track you want. You've grossly miscalculated. Hiring a social justice activist for an attorney? Nope. Get yourself like the oldest. I don't care if he's white, black. I don't care if it's a he or she. Find someone who doesn't care about skin color immediately if I'm Gage. This lady's not going to represent you. She's got to represent an agenda. And that agenda, Gage is a white male. He's a white male. I'm protesting on behalf of George Floyd. No, you're not. Jacob Black. No, you're not. Stop it. Look at you. You're not. This chick is not representing him. She's representing an agenda. He should fire her immediately. Problem for him, he's too fucking stupid to do it. Because again, I'll give you my evidence as to why he's too stupid. Look at him.
Actually, if he'd have left a forwarding address, that probably would have been full compliance with the bond order, because we're interested in an address where we can send notices to the defendant to appear for a hearing or whatever the case may be. He apparently didn't leave a forwarding address. At least that's the evidence that was returned to the clerk. So he's in violation. I can tell you, and I talked to the clerk about this yesterday to confirm what I thought. There are a very, very, very high percentage of people who are out on bond who, she routinely asks after a hearing is done, are you still living at the same address? And I would estimate the number of cases where the person says yes is over 10%, maybe significantly more than that, where the people say, yes, I've got a new address, and they haven't notified the clerk. They're in violation. I've never jailed one of those people. I've never heard of any other judge jailing those people. I have never...
Of course not, because they showed up at the hearing. The entire requirement is to get their butt to the hearing. And a judge doesn't care, like, where they are. He doesn't care. Are they at the hearing? Are they showing up? You can't assume someone will flee based on nothing. You have to have evidence that they'll flee. Because again, the presumption of innocence thing, it's super pesky, I know. Makes life really hard for people who hate liberty. But you can't pretend that they're automatically going to flee. They have to actually show something first.
I've never seen a bail jumping violation based on one of those things. I've never seen the district attorney bring anything like that into the court. We amend their address on our records, and they might get barked at a little bit about violating the court's order. But that's the extent of what happens, and they don't get a raise in their bond of 10% raise in their bonds. I can't recall that ever happening. I'm sure it hasn't. He didn't. So he is
Oh,
in
no.
violation for not updating his address, and that has to be addressed going forward. But he also, as Mr. Richards has pointed out, he appeared on the last hearing, which was the one, which was the return notice. He was there at Mr. Richards' office. So I'm assuming he came from wherever he was to Racine to attend that meeting, and he's here today. So I'm going to deny the motions.
Wait, what was that? Hold on. I'm watching Huber's dad here because I saw his hand for a second. I wanted to see what happened.
So
there.
I'm going to deny the motions.
There it is. I knew I saw his hand there. I knew I saw it. These people are fucking stupid. This is why you don't like this little soy child in the bottom left here. This is why you don't let this guy talk. This is why you don't even have him on the call. If he's on the call, he's in your office watching with you, on mute, off screen. Why on earth? Why on earth are you letting your client do this?
I do think that I understand the concern, and my heart goes out to everybody who's involved. This is a terrible thing, and that's one of the reasons I feel so strongly I want it to be handled peacefully and fairly and impartially, and part of that, just a small part of it, is the risk that there would be the kind of concern that the defense has talked about in terms of the safety of the defendant. And quite apart from the interest of the defendant, after what this town has been through in the last 6 months, I don't want any more problems. The police don't need any more problems. We don't need to have people's safety in jeopardy in any way. So I think that the desire that the bond,
Yeah, he's still yakking through his
or
mask.
that the defendant's address be kept from public scrutiny is a legitimate one. And what I'm going to order is that the actual physical location of the defendant, and it will be his place of abode, if he's going to remove from there.
Huber's dad is such a fucking idiot right now. He's justifying exactly why the judge is doing this. He's acting like he's some sort of animal. He's aping to the camera. He's yelling at the camera on mute. He's like he'd go kill Kyle if he had his address. Because guess what? Kind of looks like he might. What an idiot.
He'll have to follow the bond condition and give us the exact physical location of his place of abode. And that is to be given to the deputy clerk working in this court, who will keep it privately. It will not be part of the public record. It's to be given to me. It'll be held the same way. And it's to be given to whomever the sheriff designates as the person who would be responsible for full knowledge of the whereabouts of the defendant. And that is to be kept secret by the
Not even to the attorneys. Brutal. Not even to the district attorneys. Good on the judge.
sheriff's office. So is that clear, Mr. Richards, what's required?
It is, Your Honor, and you and your clerk will have that by 5 o'clock today, and I will have it to the Sheriff's Department as soon as I'm told who to designate it to.
Okay.
Your Honor, I would also
Any?
information be
Yeah.
shared with our office too, please.
No.
I'm dead. No. I need a minute. Oh. Oh, man. Oh. Whew. We're going to replay that in just a second. Oh, I needed that. There is somewhere in this world, occasionally there is justice. A rarefied instance where there is actual justice. By the way, justice is not racial retribution. Justice is not women's equity. Justice is justice. It is blind. It is uncaring. It looks at facts. It looks at law, and it applies facts to law. And that is the end of the story. That's justice, and it just happened. This is to the judge. In a bar, this would cost $50. Thank God I'm not in a bar. Thank you, Judge, for doing that. Let me read a couple of these chats, and then we will watch that moment again. Moment of glory. Mr. Ruby Elf says, "Hey, Nikki boy, hope you're doing well. Unrelated, there's a lawsuit against Nestle, Mars, and other big companies. They've been accused of child freaking slavery of all things. Figured you'd be interested in that. Cheers." Oh, that's pretty funny. Nova Zero says he's mouthing nonsense under his mask, but you know they are expletives. He's proving himself to be an uncontrollable buffoon. Carry on, Koofter. May you end up as pacified as your son and never to harm another being. This guy shouldn't even be on the call in this way. If this is how he's going to act, his lawyers should have controlled that. Kalinka Pavlova just says, no. Bad Vibe says, prosecutor, I want it in my office. Judge, want in one hand, shit in the other, see which fills up first. Nope, hell nope. Since you asked, I'm drinking this Kentucky Owl batch number 10 bourbon whiskey. This is 60% alcohol. It is really delicious. It is smooth. For a 60% alcohol drink, this thing is magic, by the way. All right. We're going back over here. 10 seconds. Let's see.
We'll have that by 5 o'clock today, and I will have it to the Sheriff's Department as soon as I'm told who to designate it to.
Okay.
Your Honor, I would also
Any?
information be
Yeah.
shared with our office too, please.
No. The district attorney's office, and the answer is no. That has nothing to do with you or your office.
Yes, it does. It does. It absolutely does. I don't care what this judge says. He knows exactly what happens the moment he shares it with that district attorney. It gets shared with all these other attorneys, and then suddenly it's at a protest. He knows it. He knows it. He's not saying it. He knows it. Less people have that address. If it gets leaked, he knows where it came from. It's limited to what? 4 people right now? You put that in a district attorney's office, someone in the office gets that. It accidentally gets sent out in a accidental BCC to one of these other lawyers, and suddenly Kyle gets shot because someone got the address. Nope, not gonna happen. Not on his watch. Yeah, look at this guy down in the bottom left. Whoo, we got worked.
I think the sheriff would be your right arm, left arm, whichever is preferred, in discharging anything that would need to be done. And they're not to share it with you unless you offer good reason. And it's not that I don't trust you. I think that the less...
Did you see? Watch Binger's face. We're going to respond here. It's not that I don't trust you. Watch Binger. Who knows? By the way, if you ever tell someone, look, it's not that I don't trust you. Of course it's that you don't trust them. Of course that's the reason you're not telling them. Because if you trusted them, you would tell them. Even if it's a super duper secret, you'd trust them to keep the secret. It's not that I don't trust you. Oh, it is. It is. Watch Binger's face. This is classic.
I don't trust you. I think that the less of this, the safer everybody is. As I said, you remember what went on 6 months ago here? I've got 2 broken windows here, right here in this courtroom.
Uh-oh.
The doors are all still covered with plywood.
Whoops.
A good share of the community is still boarded up after millions of dollars of damage.
Gage right now is going, oh shit, we miscalculated. Remember, Gage is on the side of people who busted the court windows, threatened the judge, threatened the judge's place. Whoops.
Property damage and this ghastly event.
See, all of these people, maybe up until this moment, when the judge talked about the horror of this event, thought he was talking about the dead people. He wasn't. He was talking about violence in the streets, the destruction of property, the entire fiasco, the amount of damage that was done to the community. They thought probably he was, oh man, dead people. Yeah, the judge is talking about dead people. No, the judge is concerned with much bigger things. Much bigger things than dead people. The harm of the nation, the fracturing of society that was witnessed, it manifested. And to draw a brief analog, like that's why everybody's freaking out so hard about the Capitol. It's the same thing in a different way. It's that it manifests an idea. It doesn't matter what the event has happen as a result. That's not so important. It's the idea, the manifest idea of a fractured and destroyed populace. And we watched that for all of 2020, all across the country. That's why the Capitol building seething is so disingenuous, is because they're only mad because it came to the Capitol. That's what made the Congress people mad at the Capitol. But the whole thing, all of these things are the manifest symptoms of the underlying condition that's going on right now in the country, and that is fracture and divide. And, this judge has lived a long time and hasn't seen that in his life really, except since maybe the 60s. And the 60s were really scary for a lot of people. Specifically, people near Chicago who were alive and conscious in 68. He remembers this stuff.
Occurred. So no, I don't want anything that might kindle further violence. And so no, and it's not a reflection in any way on you or your office.
Your Honor, I hope you're not suggesting that sharing this information with our office is somehow going to lead to further violence.
He is very calmly. Leave him alone.
Because we would not be in any way contributing to that, but our obligation.
Yes, you would. Calling this white supremacist is contributing to violence. You're a piece of shit and you know it.
is to help monitor the defendant's bond conditions, and without knowing where he's at, that becomes very difficult. If I'm to file a charge of felony bail jumping, for example, for the defendant violating his bond, and I don't know where he's at.
You ask the sheriff. He just told you if you had a good reason, you ask the sheriff. If you're filing a warrant for felony bond jumping, then you ask the sheriff and he gives you the address. Simple. Stop being obtuse. Look at him trying so hard. He wanted so hard for that to leak.
That makes it pretty difficult. And if the court has placed the
And you call the court?
and
Call the court?
criticize me for not doing so in the past, then I feel like I need to have this information. And certainly no one on this Zoom call needs to be reminded of the events of 6 months ago. We have the loved ones of two deceased and a victim who was shot in the arm by the defendant that night. So
Please don't use the term victim.
Mr. Grosskreutz was shot in the
Any
arm.
witness.
Your Honor,
Just say witness. Really simple.
if Mr. Binger wants my client,
What's that?
if Mr. Binger wants my client to appear on what he's going to do next, which is issue a felony bail jumping, send it to my office. He'll be in court the next day. This posturing is not serving any purpose at this point. The court has ruled.
Your Honor,
Thank
it's not
you.
posturing. This is standard procedure in all criminal cases that everybody knows where the defendant is. This is highly unusual for this to be withheld under seal. The court has ruled that it can be sealed from the public, but we are not the public. We are the prosecuting agency.
We are not the public. We are the prosecuting agency. Listen to this guy. He got blown out and he's pissed. And he didn't even get blown out by Rittenhouse's lawyer. He got blown out by the judge. He got blown out by his own zeal. He has nobody to blame. This guy didn't get out-lawyered. He out-lawyered himself. He played his hand on the social justice shit, on the bond modifications. Let's not mince words here. This judge knows the score already because he already heard the bond modification requests, which were unobjected to by Richards. Remember, I told you. Remember, this is the credit that I was talking about. I said there is no reason for for Kyle Rittenhouse's attorneys to object to the bond stuff. A whole bunch of people sent me feedback. No, you got to object to all this stuff and blah, 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 blah. Nope. There's no reason to fight for this. It's not Kyle's fight. His fight is not against the culture. His fight is against the legal implications of what he's done, and that's it. This is why that judge sat there and he saw the lunacy of someone say this, which he's done about 55 times on this court hearing. He saw the lunacy of someone say that was white supremacy. Okay? And then rather than Mark Richards making him fight about it and have a hearing and bitch over it and go back and forth, he just said, sure, Judge, my client isn't a white supremacist. Fine. He won't be involved in any of that stuff. We don't care. We agree to the bond conditions. No big deal. So he issues his order. It's really simple. Now this guy comes back. This Binger guy comes back and he says, no, Your Honor, we need to know where it is. We're not going to violate it. And the judge just told him. He just told him, look, if you need this, if you need his information, you have good reason, all you got to do is call the court. You got a bond warrant to issue. No big deal. You get a warrant. Of course we'll give you the address if you're issuing a warrant. You don't need it until you have a warrant. He just told him. And this guy's like, oh, we're not the public. How dare you suggest we would be improper? Of course you're going to be improper. You've been improper before, and the judge already knows it. Guys, when I'm telling you why they didn't fight over the stupid OK symbol on the bond, this is why. This is why. That's the credit you build up in the court. Mark Richards, Kyle Rittenhouse, they've built up a level of credit and credibility with the court, and it matters a lot. It matters a lot. And in a murder trial, you need all the credit and credibility you've got. You don't want anything that suggests. And by the way, Kyle showing up at that bar while it was perfectly within bounds, wearing the shirt that says free as fuck. Like I said, I would never advise my client to do that. You know, Mark Richards said, listen, man, You can't do this. You can't do this. Don't do this, please. We need every shot we've got. This messes with things. I get it, but don't do this. Just go on being the good kid who cleans up graffiti. That's what we need you to do. That's the image we want. We don't want you laughing in a bar holding a beer with a free as fuck shirt on. We want you cleaning up graffiti on the walls of Kenosha. That's the best image for you. Don't do this.
We are the prosecutors on this case, and we have a very important right to know this information.
You do not.
As the prosecuting agency in Kenosha County. And I have never heard of a situation where this information has been withheld from our office. The Sheriff's Department, you're right, is a law enforcement agency, but we work with them, and to withhold them from giving to us, the court not giving it from us.
Wait, at 5108, the dad held up a paper to the camera? Okay, we're at 5241, so I'll go back to that moment, and then we can go back to this one.
Charge of felony bail jumping.
He boomered it. He boomered it. I couldn't see what it said. It never focused in on it.
It becomes very difficult. If I'm to file a charge of felony bail jumping.
It's illegible. What a dummy. Okay, back to 5241. Sorry.
To cut us out of that information is not appropriate here. Our office is headed up by the elected DA, the chief law enforcement officer in this community. This is a murder case, and we are entitled to this information, Your Honor. We have never been denied this information in any case that I've ever heard of.
Get denied.
If the court is aware
Appeal
of a
it,
case in its
pussy.
history where you've not shared this information with us, I would appreciate you sharing that with us, letting me know what case that was, because this is highly irregular. We have a right to know this. I would argue the public has a right to know it as well. I understand the court's ruling from sealing it from the public.
The public doesn't have a right to know it. Let's legal law explain this for just a second. The public has a transparency issue in all criminal cases, but a transparency interest, I should say. And that translates to a right to open filings and communications in all cases, civil and criminal. And we like that right. That right is good because that means that when someone is prosecuted, we get to watch what happens to that person from start to finish. We get to review it. And the idea of transparency in these things is for the benefit of the defendant, not the prosecution, never the benefit of the government. It's always for the benefit of the defendant, because if the defendant gets railroaded by the government, the people are supposed to watch that railroading happen, and they're supposed to go, that's not right. That shouldn't have happened. And the people are supposed to be mad at the government. That's how that's supposed to work. Remember who our founders were when they wrote these rules. So that's the privacy or the public interest in transparency. That public interest in transparency is always balanced by the individual's involved right to privacy. And that right to privacy supersedes the interest of transparency when there is a danger to the person, bar none. Happens in just about every domestic violence case. Hell, it happens in basic divorce cases that involve any case involving a child. All of these cases, all of them are sealed from public view because the interest in privacy of the child, the domestic violence victim, the divorcees, those things all the time, especially when the divorcing couple has children, all the time, that privacy interest outweighs the public interest in transparency. So he's saying the public has a right to know? They don't. They have an interest. They have an interest in it. And that interest, the presumption for that interest is overcome by the individual right to privacy really, really simply. Most of the time, people just don't have a privacy interest in their criminal acts.
But our office has a responsibility to enforce the laws, enforce the bond here, to file bail jumping charges if there's a violation of that, and we cannot do our job without this information.
If there's a violation.
The sheriff can keep on top of this as to whether there's a violation. That's where most of your information, when I was district attorney, and I know it's been a long time, but I didn't have any investigative staff except one investigator, which I won't go into, but the sheriff's department was in charge of reporting bond violations and the like to us, and I think the same situation is true now. Hearing's over. Thank you.
The defendant doesn't reside in Kenosha County, Your Honor. The sheriff can't help me because he doesn't
Thank
reside.
you.
Oh,
Thank you.
correct.
Good afternoon.
Absolutely annihilated by the judge.
Yeah, I'm going to still be on Zoom, so yeah, we'll leave.
Hey, Huber, log off, you dummy. There we go. There we go. He got demolished. He's not residing in Kenosha County. The sheriff can't have... The sheriff has the address. The sheriff will have the address. I don't get what was so hard to understand about the sheriff will have the address. If you have need for the address, you just go to the sheriff. That's all you got to do. He told you exactly what to do. He's just not going to give you the address right now. If you have need. So now you can expect some bail jumping felony charge or something is going to come. Kyle Rittenhouse has to be on absolute notice. His behavior is under extreme scrutiny. He cannot screw up. He cannot screw up. If he screws up in the slightest, this guy will have a felony bail jumping hearing just to get the address. Even if he'll lose, he's going to file it just to get the address. I would not be surprised if we see one within 2 months. The dad's not going to get a charge for contempt of court. No. If the dad had done that in a real courtroom, he wouldn't get a charge of contempt of court either. The judge would have just asked the bailiff to escort him out of the court. If that, he probably would have just given him a warning and said, sir, your obscenity is not welcome in this courtroom. Please restrain yourself. If you can't restrain yourself, you'll be welcome to be escorted out into the hallway where you'll be free to express your speech. But in this courtroom, you're under my rules, and we have rules of decorum, and you'll observe them or you'll be removed. That's what would happen there. They're not going to hold him in contempt unless he repeatedly violated that. Repeatedly. So no. This is a great hearing, man. Oh, God, it's nice to see a judge do this. It's nice to see a judge do this. Lay the law down. I mean, he didn't do anything special. He just did his job. His job. And trust me, getting a judge to do their job is sometimes the hardest thing on the planet. All right. I've got another clip really quick. Random 11, I know the mask on Kyle is a benefit. I know it. It doesn't show his facial expressions. Right. And that is a good thing. But also, if Kyle didn't wear a mask, he would be excoriated for not doing it. So the next thing I have, it's going to feel like a letdown, man, after that. That was such a good hearing. It was such a good hearing. Everything went right for Kyle. The judge did his job. His attorney didn't do anything special at all. Like, he had good facial expressions and stuff, but his attorney played it really straight. He didn't grandstand on issues. It seemed like he knew he was well-grounded, and of course he was. Of course he was. The idea that they were going to get a bond increase, if they had gotten that bond increase, the judge even said, all the time people come into my courtroom and their address hasn't been updated. We might kind of harp on them a little bit, but no one's gotten a 10% bond increase over that. I'm pretty sure that's never happened. Ever. If they would have gotten that bond increase over this, it would have showed some real trouble for the court. And I'm really glad that they didn't do it because of that. And the judge is acknowledging that. Mark Richards probably knew he was on pretty solid ground there, saying, yeah. And so he didn't really need to fight that much. Again, my mild criticisms is that I would have pushed back on the okay sign being white supremacist a little bit in the hearing, not in the bond issue from before, but in the hearing now, say, can we seriously just stop saying my client was throwing up white supremacist signals? Because we stipulated when we agreed to the bond increase that my client wasn't a white supremacist, wasn't engaged in that activity, and will happily avoid that activity because he didn't do it. Not because he did it and felt bad, but because he didn't do it. So I would have put that down now and just linked it back to the previous thing that said, this is why we didn't object. It's because this is bullshit. My client isn't a white supremacist, has no white supremacist hand gestures, whatever those even may be, whatever fantasy these lawyers have come up with to mean white supremacy. My client isn't whatever definition they have for that today. And I would really appreciate it, Your Honor, if they stopped attempting to prejudice my client by calling him a racist white supremacist. Because he's just a guy. He's just a teenager, Your Honor. And this is unfair to do to him. Something like that is what I would have said a little bit better, or a little bit more. But, I mean, he won the hearing, so who cares? Like, at the end of the day, who cares what he says? He did it right. So, I'm just highlighting a difference between what I would have done versus him. But he's the guy with the client, right? Like, he's the guy defending the murder. I'm not defending any murders. I don't want to defend any murders. I don't want to be doing that. Much rather have someone like Mark Richards do it, and I'd rather be here on YouTube talking about it. This Kentucky Owl is a fantastic bourbon, and the rye is fantastic as well. Okay. The next thing I have, briefly, and then we'll do super chats and we'll wrap up. Ron DeSantis. I'm thinking a DeSantis 2024 run is in the making. I think Ron DeSantis for president is in the making. This guy, based Florida man, Florida is a haven right now. First of all, it's warm while the rest of the country is cold as shit. Second of all, it is a place where businesses are open, people are working, and they have masks. You know, people wear masks and stuff like that. But generally speaking, everything's open. You can just go around. It's almost like January of 2020, where some people were starting to wear masks and stuff like that before everybody shut down. Maybe February, where people were starting to wear masks because they're like, oh man, there's like a disease or something. Maybe I'll wear one of these things. It's almost like that in Florida right now. You can just go. You can just go to a restaurant, go to a bar. You can sit inside. You can go to a cigar bar. Sit on the street and smoke a cigar. You can go into a store, whatever store you want. All the stores are open, all of them. It's kind of magical, and it's because DeSantis didn't shut any of it down. So I think he's trying to do this now. Of course, in retaliation for Florida actually having good results while not towing the communist line, Joe Biden is threatening to shut off travel into Florida, domestic travel into Florida. Heavily restricted. Something that we don't do as a country. We don't do that. But Joe Biden does that because he's a piece of garbage. And a statist. That's what makes him a piece of garbage, by the way. I don't know Joe as a person. Joe might be a nice guy when he's not sniffing kids or whatever. I don't know. I don't really care. I judge a politician by their actions and by their policies. Joe Biden has been, so far, one of the most dictatorial presidents in history and he just started. He's already got that mantle, maybe only being won up by FDR. Maybe. And FDR took control during the biggest economic depression in the history of the fucking world. Maybe FDR was more dictatorial than him. Not quite sure. But he's talking about doing something that we don't do as a country, and that is shut down travel to a particular state. It's the opposite of what the nation was founded on. The nation was founded on the fact that we would not single out a state sovereign entity, and restrict trade, commerce, and travel into and out of that state. That everything you want to know about why the United States exists and has persisted is because specifically we didn't allow restriction of travel, restriction of trade through physical limitation or through taxation between states. We have a unified currency and we have uniform rules for entering and exiting states, in that the states have to respect the citizenship of other states. California says you're a citizen. Florida says you're a citizen. If California says you can travel freely in the U.S., Florida says you can travel freely in the U.S. This is what has built our republic from the get-go. The individual states initially had different currencies. It was a mess. They had tariffs on imports and exports to the states. It was a mess. Federal government comes in with the creation of the Constitution, says, nope, only the federal Congress can influence trade and travel. They're the only ones. Because to allow that to happen outside of strict guidelines on constitutionality would be to destroy the Union. So when I say Joe Biden's a piece of shit, this is why. This is why. It's nothing to do with him as a person. He may be the greatest person. He may be carrying orphans on his shoulders, feeding them from his lactating man boobs. I don't care about any of that. I care about what he does as president. In the same way that I don't care about how bad or mean of a person Trump is with his mean tweets, I care about what he does as president. That's what I care about. The moment you enter political office, your personal life means F all to me. I don't care. I don't care about your philanthropy. I don't care what you do. What do you do to me as president? What do you do to me as a congressman? What do you do to me as a senator? And I don't understand anybody who thinks anything different from that, to be honest. Like, I can't imagine walking through my day going, oh, God, well, they tweeted someone. I don't care. Like, Joe sniffed a bunch of kids. I don't ultimately care that he sniffed a bunch of kids. I think he's a weirdo, right? I think he's a weirdo, but he wasn't criminally charged or prosecuted for that. It's just a weirdo walking around sniffing all the 8-year-olds he can find. Like, goes to a daycare. He's like, oh, like, that's Joe Biden. I don't care about that. That's weird. That's weird. I wouldn't let my kids around him. But I care what he does as president. I care about that a lot. If he commits a crime, put him in jail or whatever, but so far he's just a weirdo. All right. So anyway, here's Ron DeSantis responding to that. And let's take a moment and listen to the words of this man.
There was some type of report about potential travel restrictions on Americans and on Floridians, and I think it's an absurd report that they would be doing that. I think it would be unconstitutional, it would be unwise, and it would be unjust. And if you think about it, restricting the right of Americans to travel freely throughout our country while allowing illegal aliens to pour across the southern border unmolested would be a ridiculous but very damaging farce.
Come on, man. You can't be traveling into what state am I talking about? Florida. You can't be traveling into Florida. Well, what about the illegals crossing the border? Are they going to Florida? Yes. Are you sure it's not Michigan? No, No, it's not. Mr. President, you need oatmeal and a nap.
So we will oppose it 100%. It would not be based in science. It would purely be a political attack against the people of Florida. And it's unclear why they would even try talking about that. Just look at the COVID situation in the state of Florida. So since December, the last couple months, Florida's cases per capita compared to the rest of the country, 28th.
Okay, so Florida is 28th out of 50 on cases per capita since December. So despite the fact that Florida is not shutting everything down and all that stuff, they're 28th out of 50. By the way, there's lots of evidence to suggest that the spread of COVID is literally not impeded by mask use because they say it's because people don't use masks appropriately or whatever. It's just because mask mandates are dumb. Mandates are stupid. Just ask. Just ask instead of threatening them with criminal penalties. Just say, hey, by the way, it might be better for everybody's health if you wear a mask. If you don't want to wear one, that's fine. Just stay home. That's cool. We're not going to mandate shit. We'll just ask you because you're Americans. I thought this was America. What happened to just asking? Just ask us. Just ask us. When my government asks me to do something, I'm way more likely to do it than when they command me to do it. Oh, shoot. Stupid Monkey says, oh, Nick, I'm cooming. This is looking good for Kyle, I think. On another note, I'm shipping out on February 25th and will be on a submarine for 4 years after a year of training. I hope country will be okay until then. I love you. Hey, Stupid Monkey, when you're on shore leave, make sure to tune in and let us know how things are going, man. Do your best on that giant floating phallus. Zero Cypher says, would pointing out the white hand supremacist hand sign they accused Kyle of was the same hand gesture the judge himself has been using be a bad move? Yes. Yes, I wouldn't link it to the judge at all. I wouldn't do that. That's accusatory. I would not say, just pointing out, Your Honor, you've used that same sign, albeit innocently, in these things. I wouldn't do that at all. That can backfire. Just point out the fact that it's ridiculous. The judge probably doesn't even know he's going like this. Blaine20 says, Joe Biden is not my president. He can rule the island of D.C. however he wants. Multiple counties in Florida have boycotted him by legislation to ignore any EO he issues. That's great. More legislation to ignore EOs is better. Amateur Ant says, DeSantis will never win if the demon craps and establishment have anything to do with it. The Times already said the cabal Illuminati fortified the so-called elections. George Carlin said it best. They're in a big club and you ain't in it. Well, I don't care. I support him so far. Here we go. Back to this.
27 other states higher per capita cases, and for the entire pandemic, it's a similar story. Hospitalizations per capita over this time period, Florida ranks 30th. 29 other states have higher per capita hospitalizations. Fatalities per capita for this same period, Florida ranks 42nd. 41 states have higher per capita fatality. So since December 1st, well over half the country has seen much worse COVID results than here in Florida.
Well, to be fair, though, that's because Florida man lines up COVID and sniffs it like it's cocaine.
But all you have to do, too, is just look at some of the trends. ED visits for COVID-like illness is down 60% in Florida over the last 30 days. That's the number one indicator for COVID spread. Hospitalized patients are down about 35% in Florida statewide over the last 3 weeks. And don't forget, over the winter, Florida peaked at much less level than we did over the summer months. And we were way less per capita than a lot of lockdown states that are always cited as being, quote, the right way to do it. Meanwhile, we've...
Like New York? Cuomo killing all of the old people in New York and then lying about it? This shit's such a farce.
Vaccinated the most people of any state in the age bracket where most of the fatalities occur, age 65 and plus. We have now reporting about 1.6 million seniors that have received a shot. That's about 35% of our gigantic senior population, which is almost 4.5 million. And we are #1 for shots for seniors. We've done 75% of all shots administered in Florida have gone to senior citizens. And the percentages of seniors that have been vaccinated is one of the highest in the country, and it continues to grow every day. And so any attempt to restrict or lock down Florida by the federal government would be an attack on our state.
Absolutely. Of course it is. Of course it is. Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, Montana, Wyoming. These are bastions of true liberty. And the federal government cannot countenance liberty when the Democrats are in charge. It's not, by the way, it's not inherent in Democrat rule. It's inherent in current Democrat rule. They're not Democrats anymore. They're leftists. They're leftists. The leftist wing of the Democrat Party has overtaken reason. And that was evident, by the way, by Donald Trump. He exposed this. He exposed this by winning over the working class. That's it. That's all he had to do. When the Republicans were being corporatist assholes, the working class sided with Democrats. The Democrats are like, aha, we have a mandate. Let's kill all the babies. Yeah, let's kill the babies. And working class people are like, God, but that's a little rough. And then suddenly Trump comes along and says, no, babies are beautiful. We have more babies than anybody. We make some pretty good babies in the United States. Don't you think so? I've seen some beautiful babies. Look at that one. Beautiful baby. We make good babies. Why are we killing the babies? You know what we need, though? We need more emphasis on the working class. Blue-collar guys working in docks, working in cars. That's terrific. Hard work is what we do. That's what built America. That's where we need to stay. We need to keep American jobs here. And suddenly, all the people who are like reluctantly supporting baby killers are like, oh my God, I'm a Republican conservative now. Because they weren't for the baby murdering. Like, I have to point that out. They were swallowing that pill because they had to. It was never a mandate. Populism isn't left and it isn't right. Populism is me. That's what populism is. It's not left, right, it's me. I'm a guy. I have bills to pay. I got a wife, I got kids in school. I want to make sure my kids go to school, they don't die. I want to make sure they're learning something about history. I want to make sure they got a job when they come out of school. I want to make sure I go to work 10 hours a day. I don't have time. I don't have time to deal with what my kids doing. So I hope the education system's taking care of them, because when I get home, I want to ask them how their day was. And I want them to say it was good and tell me, what they learned in math. And I want to make sure my wife was able to buy food, and I want to make sure I can pay my gas bill and my electric bill. And I want to go buy some clothes or save up and buy some Christmas presents. That's America. That's what people want. They want to go to work and they want to be secure that when they come home after a long ass day of working their butts off and they sit down, that the rest of the world was okay when they left and when they came back. Because most people don't have time to be the hero of America. They are the hero by just working. They've done their job. Now they get a few minutes to themselves. And that's what most people want. That's populism summarized. It's not left, it's not right. Trump figured that out. He figured that out. He says, wait, I can support working people. I can lower their taxes. I can make their daily bills a little easier. And they don't have to kill babies. This is good. Holy shit. What a winning formula. Can't have that, though. Can't have that. Can't have that winning formula. No. The socialists and the commies will not allow that. That cannot stand. Just so happened that when Trump ran, the Republicans were on the side. They were prepared to be the side, reluctantly, might I say, of supporting the normal person. That's what Republicans were prepared to do. Trump had a message supporting it. They were willing to accept it. Democrats weren't, because they bow on the altars of social justice, murdering babies, and hating black families. Make no mistake about where the modern left is. They hate the black family, they hate babies, and they love social justice more than any of those things. Social justice, of course, being in quotes. So, anyway. Benjamin Meyer says, Hunter on Air Force 2 for a Chinese prophet had nothing to do with Biden winning as well. Keep quiet, all other citizens. Jordan Jones says, hey, Nick, is there a federal statute to remove a senator? There's a push for more gun control, and I don't think Manchin of West Virginia has the minerals and will fall in line, so to speak. If not, where do we direct West Virginia folks to go? I don't know. He could be impeached, technically speaking. I don't know if he will be impeached. Or no, I know he won't be impeached. In theory, he could. There may be a recall process for the Senate. I'm not entirely positive about that. I'll have to look into it. All right, let's finish up this clip.
Done purely for political purposes. Now, we've had to stand by Floridians over these many, many months, even in difficult circumstances, even when it was not easy to do. We've saved their jobs time and time again. We've preserved small businesses time and time again, and we preserve the right of parents to send their children to school in person. You look around the country, a lot of kids haven't been in school since March of 2020. It's an absolute disgrace. We led very early.
I hate public school. I really do. I think if you have the possibility, the ability. No, let me correct that. You have the ability. Don't let anyone tell you you don't. If you have the opportunity to homeschool your kids, I think you should consider it. You have the ability. Get that out of your mind. Trust me. Go talk to a public school teacher for 10 minutes and you'll know you're way more qualified to teach your child than whatever that is, okay? You have the ability. I know not everybody has the opportunity, but if you have the opportunity, I am all for homeschooling your kids. I think it's the greatest thing you can do for them. I think it's the right move. If you can't homeschool your kids, I would encourage you to private school your kids. Private school costs way too much. I can't afford it. I got 5 kids, man. If I homeschool my kids, I would be asking Biden for welfare, right? Like that's the reality. I know not everybody can do that either. Public school is the least. It's the government option. The government option is always the option of last resort. Think about every other circumstance. Only in public school are we like, no, this is the one that's supposed to be good. No, ridiculous. The government option is always the option of last resort. And for many people, the government school will be where they send their kids, and that's fine. If that's where your kids are getting their education, then they should be in school. Shouldn't be doing it by Zoom. Doesn't work. None of this stuff works. Kids don't work well by Zoom. It's a joke. It's a farce, and anybody can see it. That's why I encourage people to homeschool, by the way. You watch one Zoom class for a kid at a public school and you go, why am I not homeschooling? It's only because people don't have the time. That's it. You got 2 working parents. I know you can't homeschool. You need the babysitter. I got it. I'm not judging you. 2 working parents is the way many people have to work. And that's absolutely true. That's a fine thing. But this notion like that we should take kids out of school, which takes away the one main compelling reason that most parents can't do homeschool, is because they can't have their kid at home because they're working. And they're like, nope, your kid's going to be home all day. And by the way, you still have the same 8 hours of classes that they're expected to. Of course they don't. Of course they don't do it.
Early on that, and we're much better for it. So we've had to stand by Floridians throughout, time and again, and we will do so going forward. We will not back down, and if anyone tries to to harm Floridians or target us, we will respond very swiftly.
All right, Ron DeSantis, man, this guy's a rising star in the Republican Party. He looks poised to bring the freedom and liberty position to the mainstream. Let's hope he keeps it up through 2024. I would love to see some good candidates in 2024. I don't think Trump's going to run in 2024. I don't think it would be wise for Trump to run in 2024 at this point. Maybe things will change in the next couple of years. That's certainly a possibility, but right now, I don't think, I think Trump is too much of a pariah. Even if I think that he is wrongly a pariah, I do think it. So I'm looking for new blood, and I think DeSantis is a strong candidate right now. I think he's a strong candidate right now. So we'll see what happens over the next couple years. All right, guys, that's what I've got for today for material. I'm going to read all the super chats as I always do. Thank you so much for always supporting the show. It warms my cockles every time you guys do. We are going to Twitch today. It's a movie day. It's a movie day on Twitch, and we are watching Tropic Thunder. I just found out Tropic Thunder was on Prime. We will be doing Tropic Thunder tonight on Twitch. So come watch that if you want. It'll be a great time. A great time. That being said, tomorrow, I don't know what all we're doing tomorrow, but I had a clip I wanted to play today. It was the media criticizing Rand Paul during the hearings. So we'll probably look at that because Rand Paul is getting blasted by little commies in training, which are journalists, over he didn't wear a mask at the hearings. And they're pulling some bullshit on that. So I'll probably find that and play that clip tomorrow. In addition to whatever else happens, I don't know, unless I've got a guest, and I may have a guest. We got a lot of guests to start getting to here. I would like some debriefing, some decommissioning on the whole impeachment stuff. So look for that. I'm going to try and get guys like Uncivil Law, Nate the Lawyer, Ty Beard, the usual suspects here on the channel. I also have a Second Amendment stream that I've got to work out, and I want to get Kendra Paris on for that. She's a red flag attorney. I think the Second Amendment is about to be under massive, massive attack by the government. It already is. So I'd like to get some people on in that. So those are things to look forward to coming soon here. There's also some new guests you've never heard of, which are on the potential lineup. And you may have heard of them, but you may not have heard of them through this channel. So that's possibilities as well. You never know what tomorrow's going to bring on a stream here. So thank you all. Remember to subscribe to the archive channel so you don't miss any of those streams when you do miss them live. And other than that, guys, let's read these. Let's read these chats. Okay. We've got Night of Hope saying, a judge that has actually read the paperwork. What kind of witchcraft is this? I thought these guys were all chup. No. Walking into the courtroom blasted, falling on their faces, reading nothing, and telling the counsel they dislike not to argue their cases. Yeah, that was chup. Real judges actually do read things. There are some good ones out there. Crusader says, this judge ain't having none of this BS. Glorious. I love seeing prosecutors squirm like the invertebrate worms that they are. Night of Hope says, so it turns out Kyle is a political prisoner after all. Imagine that. Hey, also, isn't it kind of surreal to see totalitarianism being carried out on video in our own country? This is railroading of an innocent man for public political purposes. Sickening. Look, at the risk of insulting one of my friends who is a prosecutor in a southern state, I won't say which one. One of my personal friends is a prosecutor in the South. Prosecutors have no souls, no scruples, no morals, and are the worst form of lawyer on the planet. Prosecutors are lawyering on easy mode and they don't even know it. They're also garbage. They have the full backing of the government, and many, if not most of them, abuse that power. They suck. Don't like them. Silky Johnson says, until proven otherwise, I assume all lunatic Democrats are AIDS-filled, with this DA being a prime example of it. I can only assume he got his law degree by sucking a mile's worth of cock or lispy screeching. Either way, effing clown world, also Chad Judge. There you go. Night of Hope says, I don't have any sympathy or condolences for people who raise shitty kids who get shot in the streets and then turn their anger outwards on the innocent person they attacked instead of on their son and on themselves. He's acting like a monster, not a dad. I get it, but our emotions tend to override our acting. So that's what I'll say. Like, I feel bad. He lost his kid. I really do. I really do. It's every parent's worst nightmare. Your kid ends up dead. I don't know how to manage that. I don't know how to manage that. No matter how bad my kid may have been, I don't know how to manage that. Doesn't excuse what his kid did. His kid was a piece of garbage by all aspects that I can see. What, history of domestic violence, as well as demonstrated assault of someone carrying a gun. Also rioting. I mean, that too. So, like, all indications are that Huber's a piece of garbage who deserved to die. That being said, it doesn't eliminate the dad's pain, even though the dad does seem to be a piece of garbage too. Brian from Family Guy says, I love chocolate, but I can't eat it because it makes me fat. But it's so good. What a great clip. Brian from Family Guy. Let's see. Crusader Saracen says that social justice, can eat. I think the lawyer can eat shit and die. And damn girl, you got a forehead. You don't have a forehead. You have a 5 head. The Navy can land jet aircraft on her face. Hessian says, I'm going to say something insensitive. They're complaining Kyle feels no remorse. Do you feel remorse when taking out the trash? Kyle was channeling the spirit of Krishna. No, actually, Kyle shouldn't demonstrate remorse. He shouldn't demonstrate remorse. He can have a generalized frustration that people died after being attacked by him, in the sense of, I wish they hadn't attacked me so I wasn't forced to shoot them. But other than that, he shouldn't feel bad about killing them. Which is hard to say. Like, I feel like if I shot someone, I'd feel a little bit bad about it. But you shouldn't. You were attacked. He's justified. Okay. Night of Hope says, Your Honor, we'd like you to restrict the defendant's movement to gay bear sex dungeon. So go ahead and start effing him in the ass against his will, since we deem that he's guilty and should start suffering the goal of the sentence we asked for. Damn. I think for Lent this year, I'm going to give up profanity. Think I can do it? Should we try it? We'll have 40 days of trad chat, no profanity trad chat. Let's do it. Let's do that. Chair Coon. Everybody says no. Fuck no. We'll try. We'll try. We'll see what happens. I'll probably fail it on the first day. Thank God for redemption and forgiveness. Chair Coon says, bitch in the bottom right corner. Earlier, she was nodding when the prosecutor said there were protests. Later, when the judge said he will not allow any protests to influence his judgment, her eyebrows shot up like, what? Our tactics don't work on you? Oh, she had no idea what to do with this judge. No idea. Big-ass forehead lawyer says, white people! Edris Rex says, lemon voice, Your Honor, we ask that our office receive this information as well. How about no? You mob justice advocating son of a bitch? Get you a mouthful of these sour apple nuts or catch these hands. So shut your lying mouth. Silky Johnson says, it's incredible that we as a society have somehow enabled fucking lunatics to claim victimhood when they are based on available footage. The ones in the wrong That judge gives me hope in a clown world. Emotion versus logic. I can feel the reeing. Chef's kiss. Crusader says Mark Richards didn't even need to lift a finger. The judge gave that piece of shit DA a real bad case of erectile dysfunction. Emphasis on the rect. Wolf Dragon Fox says, hi, Nick. First time donating. Hey, thank you, Wolf Dragon. Was wondering if you would recommend lawyering up after being rear-ended by another vehicle. Yes. Back and neck have been in major pain for 4 weeks now and was wondering if you could take a shot for my grandfather's recent passing. Wolf Dragon Fox, let me just say, yes, get a lawyer. That type of case against an insurance agency, likely they'll take on contingency. You probably don't have to put any money down. They're going to get a settlement. They're going to take 30% of the settlement. That's fine because it's better than the zero you were going to get. Go ahead and lawyer up. They're going to give you advice on what you need to do. Your back and neck hurts. You probably need to go immediately. You said it was a couple weeks ago. Go see a doctor immediately. Get x-rays, get MRIs. You need to show, typically, economic damage. You need medical bills to show what kind of pain you're in, depending on what state you're in. You will often need to have something to bolster the fact that you're going to ask for several thousand to hundreds of thousands of dollars for the damage you're suffering. And that starts with tests and then follows with a diagnosis and an expert opinion that says this injury was caused by this accident. We have reason to believe he didn't have these injuries before the accident. After the accident, he's showing symptoms of pain and suffering, and he's going to need, ongoing chiropractic care or cortisone shots or whatever it is. You're going to need something to take care of that pain and the pain management, and your lawyer's going to give you advice on exactly what to do there based on your state. So yes, lawyer up. It's probably free. Call a personal injury attorney. They're going to negotiate a settlement. It's going to be great. Where were we? Oh, yes. And for your grandfather who recently passed. Oh, excuse me. I don't mean to yawn. I'm just tired. I woke up at like 6 this morning. Sorry. Night of Hope says, I don't know. The populist bent of the progressive movement and the DNC was always insincere Marxist rhetoric. I don't think they believed it. This is also why populism really doesn't work. It's because it's not principled. If Marxists promise me more shit, go with them. If the other guy, them. I don't think it's that simple. I don't think it's that simple. Populism isn't about giving me things. Populism is about something it's a little more nuanced in my opinion. It's about security in the fact that when I go to work and I come home, the world didn't end in that 8 to 10 hours. And it's really recognizing the overwhelming majority support of populism are people working those real shifts of work. 8 hours, 10 hours, maybe 12. It's guys in factories. It's women in an office or whatever it is. It's people going in and working, putting in that work. It's a waiter. It's it's not people making 500 grand a year, right? It's not a YouTuber. It's not me. I'm not a populist. No. That's not how I live. I'm not going to ever be dishonest with you. Populism to me is a little bit weird. I don't want populism. I don't want that. I want tax breaks for my income class. That's what I want. Because every time I pay the tax bill is the only time I would cry if I were a woman. But I don't cry because I'm a man. That's the reality. It's not in my interest at all. So I don't think it's as simple as socialism gives me stuff. I don't think that's what it is. I think it's literally just I want to be sure that when I go to work and I come home, my wife, my kids are going to be taken care of. The world's not going to catch on fire. That's what I want. And you're going to respect the fact that I work an 8 to 10 hour day. I have time for all this other stuff. The left really lost it with all of the with all the protesting and the bullshit because people who work don't have time for that. Now, conveniently, they shut down people's jobs, right? And that allowed more people to protest and burn stuff. Burn, loot, murder all happened because they shut down the few of those people in the crowd who actually worked. They shut their jobs down. So, they got them angry. But most people just want to go and work. That's all they want to do. We spend our entire life getting ready for the time when you get married, you have a couple kids, you buy a house, and you go and work, and then you come home and sit down in your recliner. You just go, oh, God, I had a long day. A long day. I just want to sit down. Maybe have a beer. Maybe have a sandwich. Ignore my wife while she tells me about how hard it was staying home. And then eat whatever lasagna she makes. And that's fine. And occasionally take my kids to an amusement park or whatever. So most people do. It's not complicated to me. That's to me, though. Bad Dragon Knight says, I don't know why you hate Cuomo so much. Political genius, that one. Fantastic election strategy. Was able to convert all the old folks to vote blue. Just Minecraft all the old people, then cast their votes for them. Problem solved. Yes. Crusader says, I want more streams with that Joe guy on. He's a real mensch. Yep. Joe the lawyer. Great guy. Great guest. Love talking to him. Very interesting. We seem to have good chemistry. Don't worry. Plenty more Joe is coming. Night of Hope says, very much is that simple. Historically, the way the DNC got working class like my grandpa to vote for them is by promising the steel industry and the labor unions more economic protection. And populism was the original Marxist pitch, power to the workers. Yeah, I just don't think most workers buy into the full-on Marxism. I think they get sold on the idea of like, oh man, someone's paying attention to me. I'm just a guy in a factory and someone cares about me. And then, the practical aspects of it go well beyond what normal people want. That's why unions are so weird. Malik says, hey, Rackets, had to miss today's show. Snowed in with no power or internet in Texas. Lol. Phone's about to die. Saw you were doing a show. Here's some dosh. Shut down and stuck out home for a real reason. Stay safe, y'all. Malik, stay safe, my man. Please, please stay safe. Get a hand crank generator or whatever for your phone if you need to, buddy. Don't worry about me. Thank you for chiming in. I really do pray that you'll be safe tonight. And that your power will be restored soon. You'll be nice and warm. Night of Hope says the tragic thing is that we don't seem to be willing to learn these lessons and be principled about freedom because we haven't been serfs or slaves for a couple hundred years. But the remorse when it starts not working out is both instant and too late. Yes. Yes, you nailed it, buddy. Angry Baneling says bass new intro. Did you guys like the new intro? I like the new intro. I think it's terrific. Michael Vanderveen's now a hero of mine. Yes, yes, yes. I will invite Michael Vanderveen on the show. No, no, no. I do not expect him to come on the show. I would love to have him on the show. I don't expect it to happen, but I will do my lawyerly duty and I will ask him. I will ask him to come on the show. So I'm glad you guys like it. Maxim Perkonikov says, can you get Robert Barnes on one of your streams? Had him on a stream before. I would love to have him on again. He's a very busy guy. I will certainly reach out to Barnes and get his opinion on whatever he can talk about. I don't know if he can talk about Rittenhouse stuff, but I would love to. I like talking to Robert. He's insanely knowledgeable and wonderfully charismatic. So yes, Barnes hopefully will get him on a stream. Molfiard says Mike's glasses should have the anime flash. Love it. World War Wit says, what about violated 18 USC 242 and 42 USC 1983? 1980. I don't know what 242 is. I think it's something to do with deprivation of rights in general. I don't think the prosecutors here have gone into the full deprivation of rights segment yet. They're just arguing their case. They're getting BTFO'd, and that's fine. If they actually did something in violation, that would be typically either with the authority of the court or outside the authority of the court, and then you'd bring that 1983 claim in federal court. Right now, it looks like Kyle's in good hands in state court. He looks like he's okay. the prosecutor's trying to do shit, it's not actually working. So the thing with 1983, and I'm guessing what 242 is, if I remember right, is you actually have to have a deprivation of right, and he hasn't had that yet. Sleepy Gaunt says, thanks a lot for your coverage of the impeachment. Absolutely ridiculous double standards for the left holds. Chances of big brain panel coming soon? Yes. Big brain panel I will work on. It may not have Mr. Peacock on it. I got to talk to him. Polar Bear Yago says, hey, hey, Nick, watching from Dallas, Texas. Luckily, as a welder, I had a spare generator to power some much-needed appliances to watch your stream. Stream on, buddy. Oh, Polar Bear, that's great. Power your heater, buddy. Power your heater, and please don't go out on 35. Oh, my God. That fucking wreck was brutal. Brutal. Ivan's Country Music and Car says, did you see the witness flip the judge off? Yes, we did. Maxim Perkonikov says Robert Barnes is Rittenhouse's lawyer now. Yes, for some matters, not for his main criminal defense. White Rice says, hey, Nick, unrelated, but just wanted to know if you've paid any attention to the protests going on in Thailand, if you have any opinion on them. I have not. I would love to know more. I don't have any opinion on them because I don't know. Can you send me some info? Can someone please think of the Thai children and send me their spicy coverage? I don't know what's going on. Maxim Pernikov says Barnes said he would show up yesterday, and he also took over John Pierce's role. Is a much bigger role than you suggested? Oh, I'm not aware of this update. Thank you for correcting me. I don't mean to be a dick. I really don't. I'm not aware of this update. I will reach out to Barnes and see if he's able to talk about the case, or at least his role in the case. I'll gladly do so. Freddie Last, thank you for the donation. I think there was a sticker involved in that. Yes, there was. Max Son at the Fort says, what's your opinion on Gina Carano getting fired by Disney? Personally, I think they fired her because she's conservative. Kind of looks that way. I think it's garbage. I don't like canceling in any way. I think it's dumb. Walt Disney, by the way, was way more anti-Semitic than Gina Carano ever was. But maybe that's why they're sensitive about it. But it's okay. She's been hired by a 5'1", fast-speaking Jewish manlet, Ben Shapiro, and she'll be good. Gina Carano is good stuff, and she'll be just fine. All of my encouragement to Gina Carano, and I think this is a place where it's appropriate to discuss that people in these roles who are subject to cancel culture, which is really anybody in any high-profile situation, they need to recognize what Gina recognized, that they're independent creators. We're immune to canceling in many ways. I shouldn't say we're. They're immune to canceling in many ways because they've established a way for things to happen. Now, no one's fully immune. I should say inoculated, insulated from canceling. And there's a real market of people who will pay real money. Look, I pay $10 a ticket at a movie theater. You think I won't pay $30 a ticket to see a movie from people who don't hate me? Of course I will. Of course I will. You'll make the same money with a third of the viewers. A third of the viewers. Comicsgate figured this out, by the way. They charge $25 for a comic. You go into a store, you see a $25 comic, that thing better be fucking gold. Like, it better be an established, valuable piece. But you go on a Indiegogo or Kickstarter, you're like, hell yeah, I'm going to pay $25 for a comic. It's from someone who doesn't hate me. It's amazing what that does. It's amazing what that does. Yeah, I think Gina will be just fine. And I think a lot of conservative actors and speakers help us. My plea to conservative Hollywood, the Kelsey Grammers, the Dennis Millers, whoever you are, help us. Help us build the counterculture mass media. We can do it. We can do it. Help us, please. Kevin Sorbo just got canceled off of Facebook. Help us. Help us do it. And stop just showing up in shitty Christian movies. They're all bad. They're all bad. Oh, God. God's Not Dead was so bad. Kevin Sorbo. I like you, but God's Not Dead was bad. Stop. Stop. Fireproof was, Courageous was, oh, God's Not Dead was shit. Help us. Support us. Endorse us. Do the movies. Do the movies on royalties. Do it on contingency. We will give you all of our money. Conservatives will pay all of the money. And by the way, we have a lot more than the Democrats. We will give you all of the money if you just don't hate us. That's it. Regular Pat says, dude, play video games? I do. Bladed Cloud 6966 says, in my town in Texas, they do not allow houses after being built after 1969 to have fireplaces. Fun times. Very stupid. Very stupid. Brown Gaijin says, Nick isn't charging Trump with criminal charges for January 6th. Again, considered double jeopardy? No, he's never been criminally charged. So it wouldn't be double jeopardy. He can be. If they bring those charges, they're going to lose dramatically. Stooge Muffin stuff, and I don't know what Beckman is. CD Random, God's Not Dead was not fine. You better stop. You better stop. Don't apologize. DST 11983. As a Minneapolis resident, I hope I got you on my back. Love the streaming with Jeremy. Hey man, I got your back. I got your back, bro. Just call me if you need something. I hope you don't. Call me if you need something. I'll help you out. CJ says Richards kind of looks like Tommy Lee Jones a little bit. Like Tommy Lee Jones drank the man seed of Robert De Niro and popped out a baby. That's that guy. Heinrich Berndowski says, was Grosskreutz, the bicep prick, ever been confirmed to be a convicted felon? People found his arrest records, but that's it as far as I know. I have no idea. Arrogant Australian socialist of Victoria says, Mark Richards' face says it all. Automata says, dear Lord, that new person who moved is in danger when it's Kyle that should absolutely be in danger. Crazy stuff. Zero Cypher says, drink each time Binger undermines his case. No, I'll die. DCV Titan says, question, I know the guy listed his iPhone as one of the victim's dad. Did he sire the waste with the domestic violence charges or the sexual misconduct? The domestic violence charge. Huber, the skateboard bro. Natanaj Napet says, as a vet of 2 wars, I kind of understand emotional burden of this. It's got to be incredibly brutal for a kid who did nothing wrong. Yeah. I assume you mean Kyle. It's tough. It's tough for Kyle. Like, I can't imagine having to kill someone. Kyle had to kill 2 people and shoot a third. He had to. That's what self-defense is. He had to do it. And that's got to be weighing on him, man. CJ says the prosecutor had to swig his soy bottle during the warrant lookup. Lane 20 says, I just got here and I already like this judge. Okay, sign. Yes. Judge seems to be competent. Nice to Lizard says, good riddance to your dirtbag spawn, Mr. Huber. F name, L name says, Huber failed every single part of his life and his spawns already. He's out to finish Minecrafting. Kyle. Matthew Spriggs says, does Mr. Grosskreutz have regrets about sticking a pistol in Rittenhouse's face and losing an arm? You hope so. You hope he does. Also for pretending to surrender before attempting to kill him. What a piece of shit Grosskreutz is. Oh no, I'm not going to kill. Pull the gun. Like, you know what? Fuck you. You deserve every bullet that enters your arm. I wish one would have entered your vagina too. Bad Vibe says, Richard's drinking like a Kermit. Want to guess what he wants to say? You're lying to the judge, but karma is sneaking up behind you, but that's none of my business. You are lying to the judge, but karma is sneaking up behind you. That's none of my business. Super Iron Bob says, why is she bald? Yes. Good question. Michael Myers says they want his location so they can send Antifa and BLM to his location. Yes. That's the problem. Prosecutors in this case are activists. They are. They are activists. And that's the big problem with it. Funny Valentine 2020 says, I genuinely believe those lawyers want Kyle dead. Me too. Maxim Perkonikov says the yellow shirt guy dad looks like Ali G. Not Anaj, not Bet says, hi Nick, this is a kid who did his best to simply survive. Look at him, he's a child. What will long-term PTSD effects on this kid? Oh, dude, I honestly can't imagine. He was put in an impossible situation. He lived, but he will be dealing with this for the rest of his life. Blaine 20 says, you're turned on to the Nick Rekieta Law Show on WRKT, where my clients are always not guilty. I am Nick Rekieta, super lawyer extraordinaire. Thank you for calling. Pseudo Snark says the frustrating thing is that a woman would be arguing the opposite for any other murderer in Milwaukee. How about some moral consistency? Yes. That woman, not a woman, that woman. Yeah, well, you're saying that any other murderer in Milwaukee would likely not be white. And yes, you're correct. She's a defense attorney, that's why. Blast Hardlift says, why doesn't the judge just say this sounds like you want him exposed? It's the most blatant docs I've ever seen. Because the judge can't say that. He can't do it. He did it the right way. This judge was correct in this hearing. This judge handled this hearing absolutely appropriately. He let everybody speak their piece. Everybody who wanted to say anything got to say anything. And then he said, no. DCV Titan, thanks for the donation. Devious Smile says, what is the name of the judge? Schrader. We need to legally change it to Judge Chad. The Field says, she's trying to deny his right to presupposition of innocence during the trial where his right to self-defense is at stake. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Blaine 20 says, AOC giving okay sign.gif. Barb Rogers sent a sticker. Thank you, Barb. DOG Bira says, if Vic had gotten a judge like this, he might have won. Imagine this judge listening to Lemoyne do his PowerPoint presentation. Well, to be fair, Judge Chupp didn't listen to Lemoyne do his PowerPoint presentation either. Blaine 20 says, how long until lawyers use their Zoom screen to advertise their law firm during hearings? The fact that they're not is ridiculous. Like, you should have a giant emblem on your back wall that says, by the way, I'll get your shit cleared. Captain Chokeout says, you do not get to flip off a judge in the UK. Well, this is America. This is America, Jack. Lagging says, I'm a bit confused. Is it common for there to be lawyers besides the DAs and the defense? I don't remember that on Law and Order. Yes. Yes. In a case like this, the victims can have lawyers representing them in other matters and representing their interest in this matter. Because victims, alleged victims, or whatever you want to call them, in a criminal case do have an interest in the outcome, they are allowed to appear. And if they're allowed to appear, a representative is allowed to appear competently on their behalf. Bad Dragonite says, my poor truck, Mississippi, not meant to have ice. Reek says, I just messed up a nergy boy laughing at your reaction to the judge's no, so thanks for that. You're welcome. Papa Nurgle sends his regards. Welcome. You've got the coof now. Bill Stone says, is it bring your kid to work day, or who is the guy wearing his dad's suit on the bottom left? You know what? Ryan from The Office, as I'm calling him, BJ Novak, whatever his name actually is. That guy was the best defense or the best victim attorney on the entire stream. He didn't say anything. He's the only one who didn't say something stupid because he didn't say anything. Well, except for the assistant district attorney who also didn't say anything because his boss is busy fucking up their case. The guy on the bottom left, he deserves an award. He did it right. I'm going to go there. I'm going to represent my clients by recording this conversation, making sure there's nothing I need to object to, and I'm going to stay quiet until then. Great job. Fantastic. He did exactly what you want him to do. Brown Gaijin says AOC would know she was at the court when, oh, wait. Jonathan Baldridge, thanks for the donations. Angry Baneling says, Nick, to read what he wrote, click on enhance. It doesn't work that way. Tavlon Avahu says, hi, I am the guy who made you laugh about congressmen crapping their pants. The picture of Rittenhouse hanging, it was stick figures. He is a boomer. Okay. Wolvenar says, if Kyle wins this, can he press charges on the survivor that attacked him? Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Michael Tynan says, Kyle Rittenhouse is the true victim here, and I worry about his future even if set free. Me too. Same with the guy who shot Mike Brown, right? Darren. Oh shit, what's his name? Darren Wilson, I think. Zimmerman, ask Zimmerman, right? Justified shootings, their lives are ruined. Their lives are absolutely ruined, even though they had a justified shooting. It's a shame. Kyle Rittenhouse, again, if you have a company in Kenosha, consider reaching out to Kyle Rittenhouse. He's going to have a hard time finding a job. Going to have a hard time finding life after this. He's fucking young, man. He's young. That's the real tragedy here. Matty P on the road says, you said bail jumping charge in 2 months. Why shouldn't they just push for a speedy trial? How many possible facts could there be left to uncover? They likely waived their right to a speedy trial at the initial hearing because it's a complex matter. And it's pretty typical for people to waive their right to a speedy trial. Das Pooch says, the father definitely wrote something at 5108. It looks like out at the top and trial at the bottom right. We need zoom and enhance. It doesn't work because I don't have the source video. If I had the source video, I probably could zoom and enhance it, but because it's compressed by YouTube, there's no way. Probably says, we'll find out at trial, you fucking bigot or something. Space Force Commander says, stop judging me in my Woodford Reserve. I'm not judging you. I like Woodford Reserve. Very much like it. No judgment here. That's a good, solid daily. Thomas Coker says, Biden wants to ruin Florida like they have California. Yes. A Dungeon Master says, it would not be based. Ron DeSantis 2021. Well done, sir. Mr. Ruby Elf says, I got the cold even though I wore a mask, bro moment. Austin Hartless says, but Joe Biden molests all the illegal aliens. Had to get around the censorship. Look, Joe Biden's the only guy with the key to the cages. The cages that hold children. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying Joe Biden goes in and touches kids. I'm just saying he's the only one with the key. And they don't speak English. Super Iron Bob says, Florida lines up COVID like Biden lines up 12-year-olds. Infinity223 says, what's higher, the survival rate of COVID in Florida or Hunter Biden? Always Hunter Biden. He always wins. Space Force Commander says, damn Pinkos ruin everything. You know it deserves Kermit Nick. Midwest Rail Fan says, work from home hardly works by Zoom. FFS. Talking about how school is not going to work by Zoom. Correct. Amateur Ant says, Trump's legacy is opening people's eyes to the corruptness in Hollyweird, the regular government, and the deep government that owns the garbage politicians. I agree. Kyra says, Nick, thank you for streaming. Fortunately/unfortunately, I just found you last week, so I'm spoiled by the almost 24-hour live streams. Haha. Kyra, I got good news for you. I'm a dumb moron. And I agreed to do a 24-hour live stream to celebrate 100,000 subscribers. And that happened on December 31st. So you've actually got a 24-hour live stream coming up. Make sure you check it out. I will be announcing the date of that very, very soon. Asia Fraser says, on one of your chill stream nights, would you consider reacting to some of Zin's Hamilton animatic videos? They're neat. I bet you'd enjoy them. Sure. Tiki God 784 says, Nick, did you hear about the man sentenced to 12 years in prison in Mississippi for having a cell phone in prison? Might make a good segment piece. 12 years for that? Oh my God. Where are we? Noir777 says, Ricada, Quote, I think I'll give up cursing for Lent. Me literally laughs out loud. Oh, come on. CJ says, so, this channel started as a non-swearing channel. I didn't swear for like the first year of this channel. CJ says, so SJW crap could be considered the next millennial generation's populist blueprint. Scary stuff. Populism is a general consensus of the masses. Possibly. Bad Vibe says, any update on Eric's YouTube channel and its removal? He's back. Eric Hunley was restored today. Eric Hunley is back, and I think I'll be showing up on his stream on Friday at 11 a.m., I think, Central Time. So just so you know, Eric Hunley is back. It seems that YouTube made a mistake and removed him. So he's back. Great guy, great channel. Definitely check it out. I'll be tweeting out when I'm on the show, so you guys can check it out as well. Tweeting. Also, by the way, my tweets are mirrored on Gab, Minds. Please, please follow me on Gab, Minds, Parler, or whatever, if it's back. Verified, the Fediverse. Follow me there, please, so I can get off of Twitter and get away from all of the fat, blue-haired, ugly pieces of garbage that are there. Anime Moon says, Sargon and Shadiversity had a masculinity stream. How about you three try to work out the ultimate dad stream and explode feminism for the year? Wait, Shadiversity is based? And man-pilled? The guy who reviews medieval weapons? I love that guy. Like, look, this is a shield or whatever. That guy? Wait, he's on our side? Oh, God, I thought he would be a commie. Holy shit. Yes. Yes. I would love to have a dad stream with those guys. I'm reaching out to, I'm going to talk to Sargon. I'm going to ask him if he can get me in touch with Shadiversity. Holy shit. Yes. I had no idea. I was like, oh no, I like this guy, but based on the odds, right? He's going to be a commie or something. Oh, geez. Yes. We'll have a young dad stream or something. Yeah, I would love to. I would love to. Bad Dragonite says, my friend is snowed in at work till Wednesday. Oof. Oof. I should go on EFAP. I would love to go on EFAP. I haven't been invited. If I'm ever invited on EFAP, I will definitely go on. But I'm not a guy who goes to other channels and says, "Hey, will you have me on?" I don't do that. It's not my thing. I don't blame people who do that. They probably do really well with that. I don't. If someone wants to invite me on, I'm open. Otherwise, I'm here. I stream enough on my own channel that I don't go and ask other people to have me on. But if they want to have me on, they know where to find me, and I'd be glad to do so. Bad Dragonite says, my friend is snowed in at work until Wednesday. Ooh, don't want to be snowed in at work. Automata says, Barnes said he's not added for court appearances at this time and is handling outside stuff. Also, people have already shown up to Kyle's old address. Yeah, of course they have. Of course they have. Noir777 says, why won't someone think of the Thai lady boys? You stop it. E1337 Neo says, hey, Nick, 29 degrees Fahrenheit here in the panhandle of Florida now. Can only imagine what it's like up there. Oh, it's negative. It's about negative that. That's what it is. Just subtract 58 degrees and there you go. Stay safe, stay warm. You don't have to worry about me, buddy. I got fireplaces. I got extra fire. I'm donating fireplaces to people. I literally have an extra electric fireplace in a storage shed. You don't have to worry about me. I'm safe. I'm very warm. I'm actually too warm. Matthew L says this judge should give them a fake address and see who shows up. Judges don't play those games, but it would be great if they did. Joshua Vidrine says gun manufacturers should hire Kyle for quality control. Engage Gross Guts can hold the target. Seriously, the Kenosha kid is an incredible shot. Really is. He did a great job. Great job. See Goody, I'm saying Ricada Law at verified.af. Ricada Law verified.af is my Fediverse account. If you don't know what the Fediverse is, figure it out. And then follow me on Ricada Law verified.af. Asia Fraser says, picturing Nick and Trump trial after the clip of Democrats screaming, "Malice, bitch!" Oh, man. Michael Vanderveen did a way better job than I would have at that trial. I want to be very clear on that. Like, I'm not going to come out here and pretend that I'm like this legendary attorney. I never, ever have, and I never, ever will. I will always give my hindsight takes, my foresight takes, if possible, and what I would do. And I'll tell you honestly, doesn't mean I'm better or worse than anybody out there. But Michael Vanderveen did an absolute surgical job deconstructing their case, and he's fantastic. By the way, the media has been in full-on cope mode. Full-on cope mode over Michael Vanderveen, over his case. Pointing, oh, the 8 times Michael Vanderveen lied in his... No, fuck off. Eat shit. You lost because you're a bunch of whiny bitches, and Vanderveen owned you. He walked all over that ass and then jumped right in the rectum, and then he spread his arms out and he said, "Get wrecked, bitches." It was beautiful. He is fantastic. A great trial lawyer. If I ever had a legal issue in Philadelphia, it would literally be my first call. My first call would be to that guy. That being said, he did a great job. I would have done things differently. Probably not as well. Like I'm saying, he's likely a much better lawyer than me. No qualms here. But yes, I would have been screaming the entire time. I would have been objecting the entire time, which would have probably been against the rules of the Senate. Like, objection, Pat Leahy. You're not Chief Justice Roberts. You scumbag, piece of garbage. Get some oatmeal. Be force-fed oatmeal and go crawl into your iron lung and die with dignity. Anime Moon says, Shadiversity is Mormon with 5 kids who wants 8. Well, whew, that's a lot of kids. Okay, where are we? We got a couple more left. Night of Hope says, yeah, exactly. That is why it's not principled. Doesn't function on an idea or go farther than finally somebody's on my side. That's why we can't have nice things. It's because we're not long-term thinkers anymore. That may be true, but the reason populism works is because populism appeals to the majority of people. Chair Kuhn says, be aware there appears to be a large influx of SJWs in chat. Leads me to believe you may be under increased attention from organized activist groups. Oh, good. Hey, organized activist groups. Fuck you. Get it. Come get it. I will put these Kermit balls in your mouth, you bitches. I will do it all day. Activist groups can eat shit. Fuck off. Ones that mass flag and report spread rumors. May groups spam your potential guests. Keep an eye peeled. Look, my guests know what they're getting into. I tell them all. I tell them openly. I'm like, listen, I'm an asshole. You got to understand. I'm an asshole. So if someone tells you I'm an asshole, it's true. That's fine. I let them know. You guys think I've been doing this for years now. You think I don't know who I am and that people who come on the show don't know who I am? You're crazy. You crazy. You crazy town. Flandre Scarlett says, reminder that Marxists came up with the word lumpenproll to describe and spread a disproportionate amount of time writing-ish about those in the working class who, for completely unknown reasons, aren't down with the Red Menace. They can't stand it. No, they can't. Wolf Dragon Fox says, thanks, Nick. You're a great help and your channel is awesomely informative. Hey, thank you. Crusader Saracen says, it's not that I don't trust you. Press X to doubt. Quips Defoe says, is there really any amount of cold that Scotch can't fix? Be warm and good, pal. Be warm and good, pal. No. If you're cold, drink some good hooch. Crusader says, Shadiversity has 8 kids. Nick, you can't let him beat you. Go, go, go. No. I'm done with 5. I'm done changing diapers. Knight of Hope says, said a more concise way, populism is a sign society isn't working, whatever the reasons might be. Yeah, I think that's very accurate. All right, guys, that's the chat we have tonight. Thank you. Bad Vibes, damn it, says in Kermit voice, it's legal speech and constitutional speech, so go take your political speech and walk off a short pier. Get eaten by a giant shark, you piece of garbage. Thank you, Bad Vibes, for that. Thank you all for hanging out with me tonight. Make sure you come back tomorrow. I love to see the numbers we had. We had over 3,000 live viewers tonight. That was huge. It's fantastic. Come back every night. We're always here. Hope y'all have a good night. We're going to play the outro now, and we will see y'all over on Twitch for Tropic Thunder. Have a good night, guys. Peace. Peace. Noir says Shadiversity also owns a bunch of land in Australia we should call the Shadlands and is planning to build castles on it. He's an effing mad lad. Oh my god! I love this guy!
It just helps get his noggin jogging along with his glass by his side and his kids asleep tight. We'll hear some lost-plaining tonight. With his microphone muted, we'll laugh at this boomer until he explains it's all part of the plan. Watch his face become redder as he becomes meta, raging at idiots from Twitterland. From the white shores of Maine to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have now. Oh, his lady is fair, and she handles herself with the grace of one who has borne many children. As the wife of a lawman, she makes sure that he has the time and the place to provide for them there. So pour out an Ardbeg, a bow, more a love rug. The spirits flow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the team post on Twitter as we hear lost planning tonight. From the white shores of Nairn to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we are now. Oh, the guests are all planet folks from Doug T to Drexel. They bring their perspective and spice to the mix. But the reason we're here and the one that we cheer is the one who is showcasing us his career. Get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the team post on Twitter as we hear lost planning tonight. From the white shores of Nairn to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law